Russia in the past, saying the response to Russia for interfering in the U.S. presidential election was blown, quote, way out of proportion. And a new report shows that the state of Wisconsin took in over $75 million more than expected in the most recent fiscal year. The additional money gives the state a slightly bigger cushion in case an economic downturn reduces future revenue. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Tuesday to you, my little buddy.
Happy Tuesday, Crudy. Of course, to you, it doesn't seem like a Tuesday, does it?
No, it's a Tuesday that feels like a Thursday. Because I'm going to turn this little holiday weekend into like a 5-day holiday weekend.
All right, man.
I'm sure I'll do something. I'll stick my head in the office on Friday. But, Dom, you'll go sans Crudy on Thursday. I'm going to the Packer game with my youngest. So I'm looking forward to the final preseason game. In a week from Thursday, the kickoff, September 5th. Bears-Packers, man, the rivalry renewed.
Boo. Bears still
Are we
suck.
eligible for some sort of credentials?
I don't see why not. I mean, we are super cool journalistic-y types on the radio.
I think we should probably credential up. Maybe we'll be on the road that first week. Actually, I think we got fine guests in studio that day. I'm just looking at the board over there. We got Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Judge Jill Karofsky that day.
On Packer opening day? Really? All right.
Packer opening day.
Hell,
Yeah,
man,
some
we
would
should
look
get
at it.
credentialed. I could ask the question. So did you give 110% today?
You know, I did do sports once upon a time, Dom, and there's only like 5 questions in sports. How's it feel to win?
How's it feel to lose?
You know, did you try your hardest? How's that knee? You know, there's only so many questions. And since politics has become a blood sport, Dom, we do it on the radio. And I would point out, today's show, much like our first topic, plan or no plan. Do we have a plan today, Don?
Yeah, we're going to be on the radio for the next 3 hours. That's my plan.
Well, I meant like guests and stuff. We got some fine
we
guests.
have a rundown. We are prepared, Crudy. Come on, we always are.
Yes, entirely. Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire, Marquette University Law School pollster, joins us in the 4 o'clock hour. Dom, no new poll, but the MU polling has a new app. Apparently, every question ever asked, 960 questions, can now be accessed online.
Excellent.
And we're going to ask at least 960 questions of Charles Franklin after 4 today. Also, we reached out to him. We owed him a redo. State Senator Jeff Smith will be joining us in the 5 o'clock hour. I'll change his title here on the page. I'll make the correction. State Senator. He's now a state senator. He's a friend of ours, Jeff Smith. We'll welcome him back to talk about rural issues, if you will, Dom.
In the happy hour.
This state, a rural-urban divide.
I like to think, I kind of crossed that divide, Crudy. But
I'll grew up in Hortonville and you worked on a farm.
I worked on a farm. Did I ever tell you that story, Keith? Yeah, man. I used to get up at 5 o'clock every morning to go milk the cows. Worked on the farm.
Was
that how you got so
born
good
in
at
a
that?
small town. And now he's a big city boy, big city slicker that you are.
Yeah, cable television, delivered pizzas. I'm spoiled now.
Whitefish Bay, all that kind of stuff. But, Dom, I want to talk about plan or no plan, and I got a big prediction to make right now on the radio. And I've been thinking about this one. This one's not just springing from you-know-where. But here's my prediction. I'm going to tell you how the presidential election is going to turn out. Elizabeth Warren will be the next president of the United States.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Did you just say that? Say it again.
Elizabeth Warren will be the next president of the United States, elected in 2020. There's no asterisk, future tense, different electoral cycle. No, I mean this cycle. I predict Elizabeth Warren will first win the nomination on behalf of the Dems, and then she will win the presidency. And I don't think it's going to be close, personally. I think it will be a landslide. But I believe she has a plan. And if you got a plan, Tom, you can win the presidency.
Bro, what about Bernie?
What about Bernie?
What about
Bernie.
Field
Don't
of
get me
Burn?
wrong. My heart belongs to Bernie Sanders, no doubt. But in my gut, in my instinct, in my intuition, all the political strategy, all the little things that bounce around in this little melon, tell me that Elizabeth Warren will eventually be the strongest candidate. She will be the vessel of the Democratic Party, and she will be the eventual president of the United States. That's my, write it down. I mean, you can call me on this anytime you want. I've thought about this. That's my prediction. I think she will draw the greatest contrast with Donald Trump in the general election. She's the smartest girl in class. And I think that she is the most personable candidate out there. And she will draw the greatest. I mean, you got a cruel bastard in the current president. And Elizabeth Warren is compassionate. She's empathetic. She is everything that guy is not. And oh, yeah, she does the homework. And hell, she probably did everybody else's homework for them as well, Dom. And she brought treats for the class.
Ah, come on,
and
man.
she will be the next president of the United States.
Isn't she copying Bernie's health care plan? I'm not entirely clear on this. Maybe you could edify me. And as far as plans are concerned, while I would like to think that as voters, as Americans, we would have some, standard higher than what it is now. But Donald Trump didn't have a plan. Make America great again. He had a slogan. He had a hat. He got up on stage. He ripped on everybody. He lied about how great he was. And he said things he didn't mean to the audience just to get elected. He
gaslighted the American people.
He took many of the plans. I mean, how many times did you hear Donald Trump say, we're going to have the greatest health care. I'm going to make sure everybody has insurance. Well, that sounds like universal coverage to me. And if you were in that audience and maybe you're in between jobs and you can't keep your health and maybe you got some issues or you know someone that had some health care issues or you do yourself, you thought, well, not only is this man going to solve the deficit, solve the debt in 8 years, he's going to provide us with universal health care. Oh, what? I mean, hell, I'd almost vote for a guy like that if I didn't know he was full of it. Donald Trump didn't have a plan. Donald Trump got elected president.
Donald Trump absolutely had a plan.
What?
No, I guarantee he had a plan.
Okay, lay it on me, man. Tell me what it was.
Go out there, run for president of the United States, lose, and then launch Trump TV. It's the winning part that was not part of his plan. I swear to goodness, I believe that was always Trump's plan. He wanted to get a raise from NBC. He wanted to raise his profile.
All right, fair enough.
He had a plan. It wasn't winning the presidency.
I will accept your position that he had a plan to lose. But that was
it. He didn't have thrust him to the presidency.
For healthcare. He didn't have a plan for foreign policy. He didn't have a plan for international trade. You talk about Elizabeth Warren, she's got a plan for that. And Bernie, man, he's been consistent on healthcare and the 1% and standing with the working people his entire career. All right, he's got a plan for that. Donald Trump, well, he may have had a plan to go out and hustle and make some money. He didn't have a plan that he could sell to the American people that they voted him for. I mean, build the wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it, and none of that's going to happen, right? So to stand up there and just lay it out, just to lay it out there, just to say whatever comes to your little mind to convince the people in front of you, to keep them happy, to keep them engaged. Are you not entertained?
That is the sheer genius of it all, Don.
But you think it's genius. I don't.
I do. I just think it was a broken plan. The man planned to go and launch a television network.
But your position is that you need a plan. So someone like Elizabeth Warren, who's thoughtful and intelligent and can think through these issues and has experience on these issues, that she's going to come out in front of the American people and lay out her plan. And that's going to bring her to the White House. And that's possible. That's possible. But you don't need a plan to get to the White House.
Fair enough. The last guy didn't need a plan. And you're right. The plan that I envisioned that Donald Trump had nothing to do with residing at 1600 Pennsylvania Boulevard. You know, it's a dump over there. Donald Trump's plan was not to be the president. You know, it was ego gratifying. I'm sure it still is. But ultimately, he didn't want to serve. He didn't want to work that hard. You know, he never thought it would be that hard of work. But Elizabeth Warren will be the perfect foil for the clueless, planless, saneless Donald Trump. She will be the anti-Trump in so many different ways. And I think we're already down to, let's call it a 4-horse race. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. And I even think Kamala Harris has already made some disastrous mistakes strategically, in that she is tacked to the center and she has left herself a paler version of the centrist Biden. And certainly they're not the same candidate. But Joe Biden is faltering mightily. I mean, I finally agree with Scott Walker about something. Scott Walker on his Twitter stream today bashed Joe Biden. I had to say, you know what? I put that one up as well.
Did you retweet it?
Here's what Scott Walker said. Biden tells supporters after flub, I'm not going nuts. And Scott Walker tweeted out, please let us run against this guy. Please! Exclamation point. Now, you are heading up Donald Trump's reelection ceremonially here in the state of Wisconsin. He's his reelection chair, something of the sort. I would point out you got your own problems. But if it's Joe Biden is so gaffe prone. And Joe Biden, a good man. I like Uncle Joe. Liked him as the vice president. Liked the policies of Obama for the most part. Joe Biden is not the correct vessel for what comes next. Love me some Bernie Sanders. You know I do in my heart. I love me some Kamala Harris. I've met her. I briefly interviewed her. I mean, she is tremendously, personally, charismatic, would make a wonderful president. But it's Elizabeth Warren. She is the chosen one by Crudy, by this guy's standard.
Okay, all right.
Because she is the perfect foil to Donald Trump, and I think eventually, much like Obama, it took a period of time. What did people say? Oh, Obama can't win. A black man can't win. He's not going to be the president. People had to believe not in the candidate. People love Elizabeth Warren. But people have to believe she can be the president. And I'm telling you, man, I see through the fog. She is going to be the next president of the United States, Elizabeth Warren. Mark my words. And she's got a plan. And she will be the perfect foil to Donald Trump. And you call me out if I got this one wrong. And I don't often get them wrong. But here's one I did. I thought Scott Walker was the very first candidate to drop out of the Republican field last time.
Yeah.
He was not. Rick Perry.
Oops.
You know who was the one after
I did
Walker
it again.
that dropped out?
Who?
Bobby Jindal, former governor of Louisiana. At least Bobby Jindal got 200 votes in Iowa. That's 200 more than Scott Walker got.
Oh, burn.
He is the meat in the Rick Perry, Bobby Jindal footnote in history, man. Enjoy that ham, Sammy Scott Walker. Come back with us. Elizabeth Warren, mark my words, next president of the United States. I'd rather it be Bernie, but my gut tells me it's going to be Elizabeth Warren. Come back with us. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. Hell yeah, we got to play it up in here.
Hey guys, this is Maggie Dawn, host of Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 p.m. Starting August 22nd, I'm going to be joined in studio with Dr. Fran Kaplan and Reggie Jackson, Executive Director of America's Black Holocaust Museum, to do 6 shows about race in America. On August 22nd and 23rd, we're going to talk about the history you never learned, facts about race in America. On August 29th and 30th, we're going to talk about why we think the way we do, unpacking implicit bias. Last, on September 5th and 6th, we're going to talk about why what we say and what we do matters. Getting woke, staying woke, and doing woke things. So white folks, you got questions you've never asked? Write them down, tune in, and call in starting August 22nd through September 6th on Dawn of the Resistance on WRRD 1510 AM, always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union yes.
Madison Liquidators has officially moved into a bigger, nicer showroom off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and they are proud to announce they have expanded to provide educational and healthcare institutional furnishings. They have great new offerings of quality new office furnishings from industry leaders like Groupe Lacoste and Via Seating, and you can see the expanded and extensive inventory of used furniture online at MadisonLiquidators.com, or you can call Kelly and have her help you make a plan for your new space. Start today at MadisonLiquidators.com and tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
Wreaking havoc on America, just like they wreaked havoc on Wisconsin. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got all the streams up today. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on Twitter. And we even have the phone lines open for you as well. Toll-free talk or text 844-967-2789.
Are we not streaming on Instagram?
Can you stream?
Can you do such a thing? I'm sure you probably can.
We're still playing with all the equipment here, man. We'll figure it out.
We're going to get to the phones in just a moment at 844-967-2789. Dom, real quick. I heard the announcer mention wreaking havoc. Brings me back to Scott Walker's Twitter stream just momentarily. Do you know what he did last night, Dom?
Probably ate a sandwich and posted it online somewhere.
Well, he did post some socializing online. Apparently he had a cold one and went to the camp bar in Wauwatosa for a little trivia night.
He lost.
Think anyone asked the political trivia question, who was the first or second candidate to drop out of the Republican presidential race in 2016?
Who was it who allegedly had a love child in college, forcing them to drop out? Was it Scott K. Walker or Scott P. Walker?
Who was it? There are 2 candidates. Either of these answers are correct. That garnered exactly 0 votes in the 2016 Republican presidential race. 2 candidates. We should do trivia night. Come back with us for trivia. No, let's
do
get
it.
To the phone.
844-967-2789. Susan from Sun Prairie. You are up, Susan. Thank you for calling. What do you got for us today?
What I got for you is to tell you this. It's time for a woman to run this country.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We've had a few men that haven't quite worked up to snuff, but it's time to have a woman in charge. That's all I'm going to say.
Susan, I absolutely agree with you. I think that woman will be Elizabeth Warren, but do you think any of the electors will hold the failure of Hillary Clinton's candidacy against her? You know, even Joe Biden's wife's like, sure, he's not the best candidate, but suffer through and vote for Joe. He's the most electable. And there are enough misogynist men in this country still to this day, Susan. I point towards Donald Trump as the example, but there are so many misogynists, they will say, with their triangulating strategery, that you can't run a woman there's too many men that hate women, and therefore we got to run a white man or nothing.
Oh, please. Women are so much stronger than men. Oh, my gosh. Let me just put it to you this way, and hopefully you don't have to delete me out. But one thing a woman can do that a man can never do is to give birth to something that's and ends up being something that comes out of the size of a golf ball, but it's like 10 pounds.
It's a bowling ball.
Women give birth. I'm just saying. They ever want to say that women can't, do something a man can do? Well, there you go. And women, there's, if you look at other countries, that they're way ahead in having women in charge. It's about time we have one.
Yeah. Susan, do you think that Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris or, whoever other women that are running should specifically use their gender as a positive point, highlight the fact that they are a woman?
Well, it is a positive point because women have come so far. Even I think even 20 years ago, there was still a lot of women that were shut out.
Sure, but to put it out there on the campaign, to run some ads, emphasizing their gender. Do you think that's a positive, smart political move during this election cycle?
Well, in some cases, because sometimes, people just, especially sometimes men, on occasion will just go with what their, sometimes their anger will take over, or it'll, kind of block out, what they should be doing as far as, because, I don't think being sexist saying that, but sometimes men overreact, that at times that women don't.
What the hell are you talking about, Susan?
We can think, women think things through and take the time sometimes, where a man he'll go ahead and just threaten the country just because he's bored, or he'd say something about him that he doesn't like, and they'll, I don't know who I'm talking about, but you know what I mean.
You're talking about Donald Trump, the current president. Right. He's an embarrassment. Melania should do something about that. At minimum, threaten to divorce the man. Something.
I think we need to do an intervention and save Melania and get her out of there, because I think she wants out. That's just my feeling, but...
I mean, it's obvious. Did you see the way she looked at Trudeau from Canada with those dreamy eyes?
Thank you for the call, Susan.
Us. We are the Devil's Advocates. One last thing I would point out, Elizabeth Warren has got a very ingratiating thing she does, especially with little girls. She'll kneel down to their level and she'll make a pinky swear with them. And she told some little girl, and this is a very inspiring story she often tells on the stump, when she first ran for senator, she made a pinky swear. She said, I'm going to run for Senate, because that's what girls do. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. That's what everybody does. They listen right here, some say, to the greatest radio show ever, but only with your participation. 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Go back to where they came from, help those people come back and show us how to do it. That was the full quote.
They didn't come from anywhere. They were here, dude. Are you employed, Chris?
I am.
Do you have an HR department?
Yes, I do. I'm a union machinist.
Oh, do you work with minorities?
I do.
If you walked up to one of your coworkers who was a minority, you told them to go back to where they came from, would HR have a conversation with you about that, do you think?
It depends on the person, really. I mean, some people are...
If somebody complained to HR about what you said, do you think they would have a conversation with you about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. But why? Why would they pull you off of your job to discuss this with you, and what do you think their beef would be?
Because they're trying to protect the corporation from lawsuits.
Lawsuit for what?
Discrimination, racism.
So if your coworkers, if you say it to your coworker, it could be described as discrimination or racism. But when the president says it to the world, it's not racist?
No.
Yikes. You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Pobletti, and our report for Tuesday, August 27th is brought to you by Spectrum. WEDC Secretary and CEO Mark Hogan will formally step down from the job September 3rd, telling Governor Tony Evers in a letter, serving in the role has been, quote, one of the great privileges of my life. But first, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson says he was denied a visa from the Russian government to be part of a bipartisan congressional delegation visiting the country. The statement yesterday from Johnson's office didn't specify where the chair of the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee had hoped to visit. The trip was to include meetings with Russian government officials, American businesses, and others, according to a statement. Johnson was critical of Russian President Vladimir Putin in the statement, saying a new generation of leaders will eventually emerge in the country, and he had hoped direct dialogue with officials there could set the stage for better relations between the two countries. Additionally, state tax collections came in $75.5 million higher for fiscal year 18-19 than what the Legislative Fiscal Bureau had projected in May. Still, the Department of Revenue noted in yesterday's announcement the tax collection numbers hadn't been audited yet. That would be done in time for the state's annual fiscal report released in October. DOR also pointed out other factors will impact the state's final bottom line once the books are closed for the 18-19 fiscal year. That includes final figures on what the state spent during the fiscal year. Finally, Hogan's departure will come shortly after Evers regains the power to appoint the agency head. Republicans during the December lame duck session approved a provision giving that power temporarily to the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Board and adding more GOP appointees to the body in a move that was seen as an effort to prevent Hogan from being replaced in the early days of the Evers administration. In his letter, Hogan wrote that some thought his relationship with Evers couldn't work or, quote, simply did not want it to work. But he praised the support he's received from Evers' Chief of Staff Maggie Gao and DOA Secretary Joel Brennan. Hogan also noted in his letter that he was first appointed to the position by then-Gov Scott Walker on September 3, 2015, making his tenure with the agency precisely 4 years. For WIS Politics Midday, sponsored by Spectrum, I'm Pat Popeletty.
This has been WIS Politics Midday. For more state government and political news, visit wispolitics.com.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Don, we'll go back to the phones in just a moment. But I have a new breaking news story from the Washington Post. And the conflict here, the corruption, it's let me just read. As the business page at the Washington Post reports, cheers! Bill Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, books Trump's hotel for a $30,000 holiday party. Nothing like stroking the boss's ego and filling up his wallet at the very same time. U.S. Attorney General William P. Barr is planning a holiday treat for his boss. Last month, Barr booked President Trump's D.C. hotel for a 200-person holiday party in December that's likely to deliver Trump's business more than $30,000 in revenue. Barr signed a contract, a copy of which was obtained by the Washington Post, for a family holiday party in the hotel's presidential ballroom December 8. The party will feature a buffet in a 4-hour open bar for about 200 people.
Oh, 4 hours.
Barr is paying for the event himself and chose the venue only after other hotels, including the Willard and the Mayflower, were booked, according to the Department of Justice official. The official said the purpose of Barr's party wasn't to curry favor with the president.
No collusion, no obstruction.
Barr holds the bash annually, and it combines holiday festivities and Sedalia, which I have no idea what that means. It's a series of consonants and vowels that make no sense. A party featuring Irish or Scottish music. And one quick quote. Career ethics officials were consulted, and they determined the ethics rules did not prohibit him from hosting his annual party at the Trump Hotel, said the official. Didn't prohibit it, Dom. So all the better. What emoluments clause?
Liz Hempowitz, director of public policy at the nonprofit Project on Government Oversight, said this. It creates the appearance that high-level political appointees or allies of the president may feel like they need to spend money at the president's businesses as a show of loyalty. And that is something that makes me deeply uncomfortable and should make taxpayers deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little. Jesus.
The Trump Organization declined comment, Crudy.
Well, of course they did. Or I'm surprised they didn't brazenly say, suck it, American taxpayers. Let's get back to the phones. 844-967-2789. Melvin, welcome to the show. What do you got for us?
Melvin Toaster at your service. I got to tell you, it took some nads making a prediction like that regarding Elizabeth Warren. And I agree. She probably does your homework, does the dishes, vacuums the floor, and then goes to work. But you know, as a left-leaning centrist, I got to tell you, free college for all is a tough. It's a tough policy to get by everybody, and she'll never get the votes for it anyway. But still, running on that platform, I think, is kind of dangerous.
Why you got her vacuuming the floors and doing the dishes before work, Melvin? Doesn't she have a husband? She's running for president. Can't the man help out a little around the house? But I get your point. I think, but your assumption is she's somehow left of the electorate. And I don't think that's the case, Melvin. I mean, U.S. colleges used to be free in many cases. Tuition was not charged to the students, even here at the UW system in Madison. I mean, the state's only given about 15% of the aid formula, but they feel like they should have 100% control over the university. My only point is this, Melvin. If we look at the sort of $700 billion annual investment, air quotes, we make in the U.S. military, and diverted even $100 million of that, I bet we could offset at least need-based tuition at every community college. And if you don't aspire for the big, Melvin, you get nothing, man.
Well, you make a good point, but what you're saying would have to be spelled out, and you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the independent voters and the rural people who don't read.
How about this one?
Wait, especially with loan forgiveness.
How about this one? She's not crazy. How's that one bumper sticker for you? Compare that with the current. Just Jennifer Rubin, not my original thought. But if the current guy, not a moral judgment, just an observable judgment, she's not crazy. And he is, Melvin.
I don't disagree. Frankly, I'll vote for a ham sandwich over Trump. I don't care.
But
in fact, you guys should do a poll: ham sandwich Donald Trump. I'll bet you
that'd be pretty close.
Well, the ham sandwich would be much less destructive, unless you're perhaps Muslim. But Melvin, ultimately, don't you think the American people? I don't think people are going to support Elizabeth Warren because of the specific minutia of any one of her plans. They're going to support Elizabeth Warren because she's so contrary to the current guy. And the fact is, she does have a plan. She has a plan of governance. She has a implementable plan, and then she has an aspirational plan for damn near everything, Melvin. And I think she could be the one. I think she will be the one. If I had a, crystal ball, it's a little fuzzy, but Elizabeth Warren looks like the right candidate to me.
Melvin, do you have a specific objection to this, basically taxpayer-sponsored, college education? I mean, because you could say the same thing years ago about a high school education, right? I mean, that wasn't always the case either.
Well, that's just it. I am, as a childless couple, we are paying for K through 12, and we are paying for the 529. Whatever that's called, for people to stock away money for colleges. So, I have to pay more taxes as a result. I'm okay with that, but I think that's where the line should be drawn. People aren't. What about the people that's already paid for their college? What about the people that have saved?
I paid for mine, Melvin.
Scholarship.
But is your complaint that somebody else might have to or might get a free pass on something that you struggled or worked hard for? And one other thought, Melvin. We got a few more callers. We're going to move on, but thank you for yours today. If you're so envious of those, that have the children and you're paying the taxes to support my kids, I'd say get back in there in the bedroom and start doing some breeding, my friend.
Or adopt some kids or whatever the case may be. We do appreciate the call, Mel. But I get it. Listen, I get it. We are looking at these kinds of issues from the lens of our existence. I was born in 1971, man. You know what I'm saying? And yes, college has gone up from then. But also, I was also born in the time when, quote unquote, free public high school education, K through 12. It wasn't always that way. And I think someone aspirational, someone with a vision, someone with some attitude can get up and articulate these different visions. And granted, everything's got to be funded. I totally understand that. But we seem to find enough money for the military. Should we not have a citizenry that's educated? I mean, if you think education is expensive, what's the price of ignorance, right?
Well, education is the investment in our nation's future. We want an educated electorate. We want smart kids. We want them to be able to earn and support us through Social Security, if nothing else, right? That's the new deal. 844-967-2789, a long-distance caller from Long Beach, California. Maria, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi there.
Hi there.
I just had a question because I love Elizabeth Warren too, but I heard earlier on the radio from Tom Hartman's program that if Trump is out and Pence and Haley decide to run, how is that going to change? Would the Dems change their strategy? Or how do you think that would affect it?
I believe Donald Trump when he says that effectively he'll never quit. And I think the reason, Maria, that Donald Trump, and, it's all fodder for speculation on talk radio, but Donald Trump needs the presidency to shield him from indictment. I mean, the guy's got enough criminality in his background, Maria. That's the only thing keeping him out of jail at this point, or certainly out of, at least a circumstance where he's going to be legally embroiled for the rest of his natural-born life. So, Maria, as much as I'd like to think that Donald Trump would do the right thing, or maybe his cabinet will step up through a 25th Amendment remedy, it's not going to happen, Maria. The only way we beat Trump is at the ballot box.
Maria, I'm with you. I think it is entirely plausible that this man doesn't make it on the ballot. We have a long time between here and there. And I get, he always says, Trump says all sorts of things, and most of them are lies, or he second guesses himself, or he backpedals. And so who knows? I mean, we're looking for some expedited court rulings. Hopefully they're asking for that now. We got lots of folks that are lining up perhaps to testify if they can be forced to do so. So, that's a whole nother issue from the daily crazy that we see every day. I just think there's so much headwind against this guy that as the next, 2, 3, 4 months unfold, could potentially be too much for him.
Yeah, because I think he could probably try to seek asylum somewhere.
Russia. He's going straight to Russia. He is. He's got a room already picked out at the Four Seasons. Maria, appreciate the call.
I'm hoping it's a cage.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Maria.
Appreciate the call, Maria. 844-967-2789. Probably time for a few more callers. I think Pizza Box Mike, you are next, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, well, I got to correct the caller 2 calls before. You are not a left-leaning centrist, okay? You are a right-leaning centrist. For one thing, people need to stop using the narrative of free college, okay? It's not free college. It's tuition paid, like the first universities that were ever established in this country, for a reason. So we don't end up with people like Trump. Do you get it yet? Education is a tool to not be stupid. And to sit there and say that, the people are going to get stuff free when you're not hurting, why would you even call with a statement like that? If you're doing well, you and your wife without children, and you're okay with paying for education like the rest of us, why would you call and complain? Why would
Pizza
you
Box Mike
be afraid to go too far left?
But
it's this narrative of going too far left.
Buddy, but let's be serious. That worked. That was the divide and conquer strategy of Scott Walker in the state of Wisconsin. He effectively made people resent the public sector union employees. You know, your kids' teachers with the summers off and the swell benefits, right? That worked to effect. Scott Walker won re-election in the recall and in 2014, and that's really the only song and dance he had. It wasn't the 250,000 jobs he created. So, yeah, there is enough resentment out there amongst the populace. People say, well, I worked harder, or look at what Joe down the street got, or those people, they're getting over on the system. People are quite resentful. And Pizza Box, you and I both know why that is. It's because what we are able to earn as working men and women continues to diminish. You know, if you're satisfied with your own life, if you're happy, if you got the, you know, a way to pay for college for the kids and food on the table and maybe a vacation to Boca every now and again, you probably don't resent if your neighbor does. But when you're struggling to get by each and every week and you know the paychecks just aren't making it all the way to Friday, well, then when you see the guy who got the Cadillac insurance plan, well, you're a little envious. You're a little resentful. And that plays well politically for, you know, bastards like Scott Walker who would pit us against each other instead of lifting us up all as working people, as your guy in mind, Bernie Sanders, has often tried to do, Mike.
Look, I wish people would just take a look at themselves a little bit more and analyze yourself in a little different text here. You know, identifying yourself as a centrist or this and that is the problem. We're all human beings. Our goal should be to lift everyone to a better place. And when you do that, if you're in a position where you're already in a better place, you've just solidified yourself. You know, you've protected yourself. Reach out and help the other people. If you've got free time to make this world a better place, you damn well better use it now.
Pizza Box, would you consider yourself sort of a left centrist?
I'm a centrist in the sense that I believe everybody should have equality, and I guess I got to lean really, really hard left because I know a lot of people have never had that opportunity.
How dare you self-describe yourself? Come on, man. You got to give Melvin a break and others, if it was Melvin. You know, we have to have the right to self-describe. We all have to have autonomy over our own politics, Michael. You know, just those of us on the far left are correct, and the rest will find out that this is where the center of America really is. We are the silent majority, and I'm less than silent. Come back with us. Don't be silent. 844-967-2789.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
Got unwanted pests in your home or business? Call Get Rid Pest Control at 414-368-0696. State licensed and certified with over 20 years experience, Get Rid Pest Control guarantees their work in the removal of common household pests, including mice, rats, ants, roaches, spiders, centipedes, and bedbugs. Humane trapping and removal of larger pests as well. Unmarked vehicles available upon request. 24-hour emergency service available. Call Get Rid Pest Control today for your free estimate. 414-368-0696. If you got it, we'll get it.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Five9's, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy five9s.com.
Hey guys, I'm Maggie Dawn, your lady lawyer, legal eagle, and sensei of economics. Tune into my show, Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 on WRRD 1510 AM. Always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
I am just a cowboy.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter. You can give us a call at 844-967-2789, toll free. Also text, like Preston in Appleton. He said, I have to say, Crudy is sounding like me, I guess in reference to your belief that Elizabeth Warren will be the next president. A couple other folks 100% agree. All in for Warren here, personally. And then conservative George said, Warren stole money meant for real Native Americans. She's just a dirty thief.
George, you're just making that up now. Come on, man. You got to bring better game to the table. You're better than that, George.
Mark from Reedsburg, you're next on the phones. Thank you for calling today. Mark, what do you got for us?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, hate to bash on Melvin too much. He means well, gentlemen.
Okay.
But Reuters just came out with a poll, I think, on the 18th, and it's like amongst Democrats, free tuition polls at 79%. So to me, it's like for people that are kind of scared about these radical, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren concepts, look at the polling on them. These aren't radical ideas. If anything, these are centrist positions. And it really bothers me when Democrats are afraid of going big, especially when it's supported massively by national polling. This kills me.
Isn't that Elizabeth Warren, I believe in the last presidential debate in Detroit, I think she pushed back on John Delaney and said, why would you run for president to tell us all the things you're not willing to fight for? And Elizabeth Warren, she's got sort of a different tenor, a different demeanor than Bernie Sanders, but she's no less a fighter than Bernie Sanders. And I think she will go out there and she'll fight for these issues. And whether or not every one of her plans come to fruition, probably not, of course. But I'm still waiting for Mexico to pay for that wall.
Right. I mean, these guys are taking popular positions so that the majority of Americans support, and everybody acts like they're such radical ideas. Honestly, I think, we can talk about, the Republicans will throw a lot of ideas out about why AOC won her district, but she ran on a very populist message.
But that's one congressional district. That's one congressional district.
That's fine and dandy. I'll tell you what, though, if I was running in the state of Wisconsin, I would run on those same issues, because they poll well in Wisconsin too. And if you don't think, and it's time and time again, it's not just one random poll that all of a sudden shows that. The Wisconsinites support those ideas.
Excellent point.
To me, it's amazing that it's amazing we can't. But honestly, here's my big thing politically. We got to get back to representative democracy. And so sometimes if we got to swallow the pill because, our bit of the legislation doesn't get passed, if the majority of the people in your district or whatever support it, then I guess what our job is to do the best we can to convince people that it's the wrong legislation.
Mark, appreciate you calling. We've got lots of people lined up. A few more we'd like to get to.
Let me just throw this out there quickly, if I may. Found this on the interwebs. Senator Sanders, total tuition at public colleges and universities amounts to $70 billion per year. So if we're gonna throw this out there, and this is the only thing I've seen so far. I've looked some other numbers. I haven't seen anything yet. But if we take Sanders' presser here and say if we add up all the public university costs, it is $70 billion per year. Now, what percentage of that is paid, and what we do, and what do we take away, what taxes are increased? all those things would have to be certainly figured out. Perhaps Bernie's got a plan, but at least we have a number, and I think that's important. It's one thing conceptually to say we should have something available for everybody at a cost to everybody. It's another thing to say, well, here's how much it costs, and here's how we would do it. Let's get to the phones once again. Wisco Paul, you are next. Thanks for calling. What do you got for us?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Devils. Apparently there's no rules anymore as president. You can just fill your pockets at taxpayers' expense. That's just really sad. But as far as Elizabeth Warren goes, I've been on board with her for a long, long time. She has all that energy. You just can't, Crudy call it. And you just don't see that in candidates. Now, you have to see her live and in person, and I plan to do so here and in the near future. But energy and drive is what you need to win. Hillary didn't have that either. It doesn't come along very often. And I think the three big things are healthcare. It wins in this state. People have to understand the GOP has done everything possible to destroy the Affordable Care Act, destroy it. And they made healthcare, they've just completely screwed it up. Probably the only way you can fix it is Medicare for all. I don't know if the Affordable Care Act is even salvageable at this point. But that's the big thing, healthcare, because people are, if you talk to people, that's the one thing they are scared to death of is going to the hospital and they can't even go. And then if they get some kind of illness, they lose everything. So At any rate, it takes drive to win, energy, and you need it. And so that's why I'm in Elizabeth Warren's camp. And you concentrate on good jobs, health care, and giving people a decent education, you're going to win. Thanks for letting me ramble on here.
Right on, Paul. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Let's get one more in. Jesse, we can give you 45 seconds. What do you got for us today?
Hey, guys. Ted Ellis, thanks for having me on. Real quick, I want to say one thing is that I think that there's still a really open wound in the Democratic Party electorate from 2016. And one reason that I'm all in for Warren is I think she is the candidate that does a great job of reconciling these two sides. The Bernie supporters like myself who rightfully feel aggrieved, and the Democratic establishment supporters who have a good reason to take umbrage with an outsider coming in, and throwing their decades of work doing party building out the window. So I get it from both sides, and I think Warren's the one, and that's why if anyone in the Madison area wants to help out our group, Madison for Warren, they can come to our Facebook page, Madison for Warren, or they can go to events.elizabethwarren.com and find something in their area.
Jesse, well said. That is an excellent point he makes. There are so many near-attendants in this world, so many Hillary Clinton fans that will never forgive Bernie Sanders. And regardless of the circumstance, however, Elizabeth Warren may have very similar policies. She just won't have that toxic aura left over from 2016. Come back with us. A fine guest in hour 2. Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire. More Devil's Advocates on the other side.
The Packing House Restaurant, located at 900 East Layton Avenue, offers fine dining and casual supper club style. Family owned and operated for over 40 years, the Packing House features great steaks, prime rib, and the best fish fry around. Join us for live music on Wednesday through Saturday evenings. The Packing House Restaurant, open for lunch, Monday through Friday, and dinner nightly. Call us at 414-483-5054 or visit us online at packinghousemke.com.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Funneling FEMA funds. Who booked Trump Hotel? I'm Mike Moss. The Trump administration is shifting money from disaster response to building border detention facilities. We get more from White House correspondent Jeremy Diamond.
The Department of Homeland Security is going to be shifting $271 million in funds toward immigration enforcement-related activities. That includes $155 million from FEMA's disaster fund. This comes just as the Trump administration is seeking to change those rules on how long it can hold migrant families in detention facilities.
It also comes during hurricane season. Forecasters say it's possible Tropical Storm Dorian will become a hurricane before it reaches Puerto Rico tomorrow. Correspondent Omar Jimenez reports from Ponce, where damage from Hurricane Maria 2 years ago has still not been repaired.
2 years just about since Hurricane Maria made landfall. The mayor in the immediate aftermath here in Ponce said that in this town alone, this town of 160,000, their damages reached up to $1 billion. And here we are all this time later. There are still places with tarps on their roofs and still places left to be rebuilt.
Tropical Storm Dorian could strengthen over warm waters and pose a risk to Florida and the East Coast. Angry and at times tearful, some of the alleged sexual victims of Jeffrey Epstein told their stories in court today. Correspondent Shimon Prokupez was there.
One of the victims called him a coward, many of them crying when they were speaking to the judge. One of the victims telling the judge, "I feel very angry and sad. Justice has never been served in this case."
Charges against Epstein were thrown out after his suicide in prison. A day after the president took heat for the question of conflict of interest in hosting a G7 meeting next year at one of his resorts. The Washington Post reports Attorney General Barr has booked Trump's Washington hotel for a holiday party. The Dow down 120. I'm Mike Moss.
If you do
We the people, the hardworking 99% of men and women, only have a voice when we join together as one and amplify our message. Now is the time for all Wisconsinites to join We the People and raise our voices. Do you feel like you are wasting your money funding unaccountable consultants, unresponsive candidates, and their campaigns? Help us do something that really matters. Please join We the People. Give what you can so we can support progressive radio stations like this one, using the public airwaves to educate Wisconsin about what we the people want for our state and remind Wisconsin's politicians that they work for us. Your donations to We the People at p4ppc.org, a registered, compliant IRS 501c3, will always be tax deductible, will always remain anonymous, and We the People pledge to spend 100% of donations educating Wisconsin on the issues our donors want discussed, giving individuals a voice in the collective message of We the People. Please give today at p4ppc.org. That's p4ppc.org. We the people need you.
Governor J.B. Pritzker has just signed into law a measure that bans smoking in cars where minors are present. That includes cigarettes, pipes, cigars, and other combustible substances. The trade war between the U.S. and China isn't stopping Costco shoppers in Shanghai.
China's first Costco store was so popular on its first day that it had to shut down early because of too many shoppers. Police were deployed to restore order and manage traffic jams around the store, with law enforcement urging people to remain calm. Videos posted on Chinese social media showed thousands of people crowding the aisles of the store in Shanghai, while signs outside warned incoming shoppers they may have to wait 3 hours to park. Costco announced last month it would open its first store in China. It first entered the country in 2014, opening an online store. I'm Joe Ramsey.
Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut says the Russian government's denied him a visa to enter the country, and Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin says he too has been denied a visa to enter Russia. I'm Mike Moss.
Attention. Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
You know, I thought it was really important to share with people my diagnosis of cancer. The Affordable Care Act is the kind of thing that's going to keep me alive for a long, long time. Why? Because they can't throw me off of my health insurance simply because I have cancer. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare provided for that. They can't raise my rates and my premiums so high beyond community rating and beyond age rating. Obamacare created that. They can't cap the amount of benefits that they are willing to give me over a lifetime. I have medicine that costs $18,000 a month. They can't force me to pay out-of-pocket costs beyond a certain point. All of that happened because of Obamacare. Thank you, Obama.
You can listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at domandcroot.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's domandcroot.com.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Congressman Sean Duffy says he's leaving Congress in September. Duffy, who has represented Wisconsin's 7th congressional district since 2011, said he wants to spend more time with his family. The 7th congressional district includes about 20 counties in the northwestern and north central part of the state. Duffy is 47 and a former reality show contestant. A special election will be called to fill the open seat. And the Brewers lost to the Cardinals yesterday. Final score 12-2. Game 2 of that 3-game series is tonight at Miller Park. Mostly clear tonight, low around 58 in Milwaukee, 55 in Madison. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Croot.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates radio show. And Dom, we welcome back a fine guest. He's a friend of ours, Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire with the Marquette University Law School poll. Charles, welcome back to the big show.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Thank you, Charles.
And for an unusual circumstance, Charles, you're not dropping a poll today. Although rumor has it you got one coming up next week, sir.
Got one next Wednesday. Stay tuned.
Well, I may give you another call next week. We might try doing this again. But, Charles, let's talk about... I hope so. You're kind of our regular guy on poll days, Charles. But want to talk about the new app. And I'm not here, didn't invite you here to promote the app, but I think it is a wonderful tool, Charles. Tell people about the polling app Marquette has rolled out.
Sure. This is a way for people to access every question we've ever asked. It's 960 questions so far and rising next week with the new poll. In effect, you log into a web page or just go to a web page. You don't need to log in. And you can then search the question text for every question we've ever asked. So type in Trump and see all the questions about Trump. Type in gun and see all of the questions we've asked about guns. And then you can ask for it to show you the results for that question every time we've asked it. So on gun control, for example, or background checks, rather, you can see the half dozen or more times we've asked about background checks. You can see for yourself what kind of trend there may have been in that question. So it's a way to make it easy to find this stuff. It's always been online on our website, but the only way to find things was to look month by month, which was an increasingly tedious task. So here we're trying to create a way that anybody can see our results for every time, for every question, and see them right there. There's also a button you can click on to see it only for likely voters if you're interested in filtering the data that way.
Now, Charles, I got two quick ones. I'm going to compound this question. How many people in total has the Marquette University Law School polled? And is the most popular subject of polling whether or not people feel that Scott Walker was a loser or not.
Jeez.
In the business, we call that last one a slightly loaded question.
They're my favorite kind, Charles.
You're right.
Yeah, well, it's radio, man, of course. We've interviewed about 45,000 people now, over 52 polls. This new one next week will be the 53rd statewide poll we've done.
And have you figured out what was the most popular subject or topic or politician polled on, Charles? It probably had to be Scott Walker, didn't it?
Well, in terms of the number of questions asked, Walker and Obama would have to be close to each other because they were both in office for the longest time that we've been polling. We always ask about the approval of the president and of the governor and favorability of them, and inevitably a few issues each poll that relate to either the president or the governor. So I don't actually know the answer, but I would think Walker and Obama are probably close to each other in that.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine guest, friend of ours, Charles Franklin, Marquette University pollster extraordinaire. Charles, I want to ask you topically, you don't have to dive into statistical analysis on this, but the urban-rural divide here in the state of Wisconsin has been very pronounced. People have written books about this, and I think it is effectively, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, Charles, the difference between being a Dem and being a Republican. Is this state very effectively red in the rural and blue in the urban, and has that changed over time?
It has changed, and it's changed fairly recently. This is based on actual votes, not based on the polling. What we've seen since 2012 is that the suburbs around Milwaukee, which are very Republican, have become a bit less Republican if we look at 2012 to 16 in the presidential, or 12 to 18 in the U.S. Senate, or if we look at 14 to 18 in Walker's races. That set of counties, the WOW counties around Milwaukee, have become anywhere from 10 to 16 points less net Republican than they were. So they're still voting Republican, but they're not producing as big a margins as they were. We're seeing a little bit of that also begin to appear in the Fox Valley counties of Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago. And then in general, the southeastern corner of the state, basically the third of the state from Green Bay to Dubuque, Iowa, is most all, not every county, but mostly has also moved to varying degrees in a Democratic direction. Well, those are mostly urban and suburban counties, so there's certainly some rural areas in there as well. But to the northwest of that diagonal, the northern counties and many of the western counties have moved sharply in a Republican direction, voting much more for Trump than they did for Romney, much more for Walker in 2018 than they voted for him in 2014 when he also won those counties. So that area has a few cities in it, Wausau, Eau Claire, but it's largely rural, and it has become substantially more Republican than it was, say, 6 years ago. So that divide is getting much bigger, and the suburban counties, which are pretty big population, pretty Republican, moving in a Democratic direction, is kind of counterbalancing the move of the North and West in a Republican direction. And then finally, Madison and Dane County more generally have become increasingly Democratic and increasingly high turnout. So that's another important part of the Democratic base.
Now, Charles, I always look at these regions of the state as media markets. Let's talk about the Milwaukee media market, effectively Milwaukee plus the WOW counties, the suburbs. Charles, is that the area of the state of Wisconsin where the elections are effectively won and lost?
Well, it's hard to say that it's that simple. It's a balancing act. That Milwaukee media market's about 40% of all the registered voters in the state. And just a little under 10% of that lives in the city of Milwaukee, which is very Democratic. The Wow County is very Republican, and then the exurbs around that quite Republican as well. So now you've got these shifts taking place, but it means that 40% is likely to come out net Republican in a normal election because of the 30% of the population in the suburbs versus the 10% in the city. Doesn't exactly balance one another. You toss in the Madison vote, and now you come, which is about just under 20% of registered voters in the state, and now you've kind of got this 60% of the state that's relatively balanced. And now we start looking at the outstate vote to flip it. So you can look at it that way and say, so how you doing in La Crosse, Eau Claire? How you doing in the Green Bay area? And in particular in the Green Bay area, the cities of the Fox Valley are turning a bit blue to quite blue, but the rural parts of those Fox Valley counties are still very Republican. And then finally, you've got this 24% or so of the state in that north and western area that's becoming more and more Republican. So it's a delicate balance. I think if you look at the governor's race in 2018 being decided by just over a percentage point, that comes pretty close to reflecting how close the balance is in a very competitive race. The Senate race, Tammy Baldwin won by almost 11 percentage points, but she was blessed with the advantages of incumbency and a strong campaign and an opponent who was not well known in those northern parts of the state. And so that really boosted Baldwin's margin. But I think where the state stands right now looks a lot more like a 1-point race. And it was 0.7 of a point for Trump and 1.1 points for Evers. In that very narrow range is where the balance between the Democratic and the Republican areas of the state hold the balance of power.
Charles Franklin, I did a back of the envelope sort of analysis of the vote, and I looked at the Tammy Baldwin race from 2018, and I compared that with the Evers race and the treasurer's race in the attorney general's race. And my simple math, and I'm a simple man, no doubt, Charles, but my simple math said for Tammy Baldwin to win by the margin she did and Tony Evers to win by the modest margin he did, there had to be some overlap, effectively as many as 110,000 Tammy Baldwin, Scott Walker voters. Charles, is that plausible, or is my math way out there on a cloud somewhere?
Your simple math is about right. We didn't find a lot, but in our surveys, we found about 8%, I think, that were Baldwin Walker voters. But where Baldwin really excelled was she made real inroads in that northern and western part of the state, winning a fair number of Republican counties up there and minimizing her losses in some of the other counties. So if we look at all of the races since 2012, for president, for governor, for Senate, the recall, Baldwin really stands out as the Democrat that was able to make inroads in around Wausau and Marathon County, in the La Crosse area, outside of the city, in the Minneapolis exurbs like St. Croix County. Baldwin really showed some unusual strength in those areas, and we didn't see that same kind of strength for Evers in those areas. So that was where Baldwin really excelled.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That is Charles Franklin. He's the director of the Marquette University Law Poll. He joins us on the phone. They rolled out a new online application to search for questions asked by the poll from 2012 to date. And Charles, I had to jump on here and do this while we're having this interview, and I plugged in marijuana as my search criteria, of course, Charles. And then I punched in the
one-track mind.
Then I punched in the variable name, the search criteria, essentially, and I came up with a result. 1 of 9 entries, so you got 9 responses regarding, or 9 questions regarding marijuana. This one about medical marijuana. This was polled back in April of this year. The question: do you think the use of marijuana for medical purposes with a doctor's prescription should be made legal or not? Yes, legal, 83%. No, illegal, 12. Don't know, 5. And Charles, that made me wonder, is there a way I can search just on the yeses or nos or the greater percentages? Because I'm curious to know, of all the questions, of the 960 entries, questions that you've had, how many questions actually came back with a affirmative or yes above 80%?
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
No way for the app to do that for you right now. I do see the point. There are not many. Background checks on guns gets up into the 80s, and there's got to be one other one that I'm blanking on right now, but there's not many up in the 80s.
Very few
range.
that hit that number, medical marijuana being one of them.
It is, and that's also an example that public opinion was not enough to move the legislature.
Right. That's I'd like to know what the other one may have been, Charles, because we know of the background checks and the medical marijuana, the Republican legislature has not moved forward on that.
Medicaid expansion was 70 plus, wasn't it, Charles?
Yes, it was. In fact, that's what I was about to say is I think Medicaid expansion was up close to that, but I'm not sure it was as high as medical marijuana was.
I get it.
Well done, sir. Charles Franklin, our good friend, a fine pollster with the Marquette University Law School poll. They got a new app. Check it out. Very informative. And Charles, we may check in with you about the middle of next week when I understand a new Marquette University Law School poll may drop. Thank you very much for joining us today, Charles.
I would be thrilled to talk to you then. Take care.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks, Charles. We are the Devil's Advocates. Want to turn this conversation a little more towards farm country, the rural areas, Tom. You think people are listening out there on 1580, 1510? We cover a lot of geographic ground in this great state.
I am very confident that Farmer Bill is listening and getting ready to call at the 420.
Farmer Bill, we're talking to you. Come back with us, 844-967-2789.
Hey, Al Bachman here. My family has owned and operated Bachman Construction since 1954. Since opening our doors, understanding the needs of our clients, and striving to exceed their expectations have been the cornerstones of how we do business. Quality is our foundation. We are proud of providing quality service and establishing a tradition of excellence in the Madison community for more than 65 years. Give Bachman Construction a call today and let us know how we can use our 3 generations of experience to make your next project a success.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
Tune in for special Labor Fest coverage on WRRD and Talk 92.7 FM Labor Day, Monday, September 2nd, live from the Summerfest grounds. Earl Ingram Jr. will be broadcasting noon to 3 p.m., bringing exclusive interviews with brothers and sisters in labor, local union leadership, and Wisconsin politicians. Exclusive noon to 3 Labor Fest broadcast sponsored by the Milwaukee Area Labor Council and its affiliated members and our friends at Teamsters Local 344 and Teamsters Local 200. Only on WRRD 1510 AM, WTTN 1580 AM, and Talk 92.7 FM.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Hey Milwaukee, I'm Sherwin Hughes, host of The Forum from 9 a.m. to noon on WRRD 1510 AM. Always streaming live on newstalk1510am.com.
Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and we're on the phones at 844-967-2789. Talk or text, and toll free.
Dominic, want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, Charles Franklin Marquette University Law School pollster, and I suspect we'll have him back next Wednesday when the new Marquette University Law School poll drops. And Dom, you have the one-track marijuana smoke in mind.
I'm just curious, man.
You got your one question. I hope you were edified. And I would point out, I had one question left unanswered, unasked. In fact, Charles, if you polled over the history of this fine poll, about 45,000 people, what's that break down to? About 35,000 Republicans?
Oversampling Republicans.
I should have worked it in there somehow, some way.
We'll have to bring it up next week if we get Charles on when they drop that new poll, if we can remember.
844-967-2789. Go back and see question number one.
Mark from the SAC, you're up. Thanks for calling today, buddy. What do you got for us?
Hey, Mark.
Well, hi, guys. Yeah, thinking back on things that the free education that they're talking about, that if memory serves, that there used to be basically free education in California back in the 70s or the late 60s and, coming into the 70s. But Reagan didn't like that because he's claiming all these people going to college and they learn how to protest against us. They must have been learning democracy. That's one of the highlights of democracy, to be able to protest against your government. But, actually, free higher education is not a new concept. We used to have a lot less expensive higher education, 40 years ago. That it's only, with a decrease in, state funding toward our public education, systems, that has become so much more expensive. The fact of the matter is it's not a new concept.
Mark, you hoist the cost onto the students, and of course, many of them have to get federally subsidized student loans, and you can never default on those. Well, you can default on them, but you can't bankrupt them. You can't get rid of them. They're like an albatross around your neck.
Right.
And you own that debt for the rest of your life. And I think a lot of the student loan debt, now I'm not saying exclusively, I know there are a lot of kids that went to traditional four-year universities, and you see which one's ranked number 2 in the state? UW-La Crosse.
Yeah.
It moved up since we left.
The Harvard of the Midwest.
But I would point out, so many of the people that went to for-profit colleges, they overwhelmingly hold the student loan debt. And so many of them were veterans targeted, swindled effectively by for-profit colleges. And I'm not saying there's not a lot of other kids out there with student loan debt. I think it's somewhere north of $1 trillion.
$1.5 trillion, maybe, yeah. It's getting up there.
It's not free college that Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders is advocating for. It is tuition free. It's just a shift in priorities. Right now, I think we're doing a lot of money for depletion to oil companies like the Koch brothers. I think they graduated college. They did okay. The living one. They both did okay. Come back with us. Devil's Advocates. I'll work my way through this segment. I'll be okay. I'm pretty sure.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Go back to where they came from, help those people, come back and show us how to do it. That was the full quote.
They didn't come from anywhere. They were here, dude. Are you employed, Chris?
I am.
Do you have an HR department?
Yes, I do. I'm a union machinist.
Oh, do you work with minorities?
I do.
If you walked up to one of your coworkers who was a minority, you told them to go back to where they came from, would HR have a conversation with you about that, do you think?
It depends on the person, really. Some people are...
If somebody complained to HR about what you said, do you think they would have a conversation with you about that? Okay.
Absolutely.
But why? Why would they pull you off of your job to discuss this with you, and what do you think their beef would be?
Because they're trying to protect the corporation from lawsuits,
Lawsuit for what?
Discrimination, racism.
So if your coworkers, if you say it to your coworker, it could be described as discrimination or racism. But when the president says it to the world, it's not racist?
No.
Yeah.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Hey guys, this is Maggie Dawn, host of Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 p.m. Starting August 22nd, I'm going to be joined in studio with Dr. Fran Kaplan and Reggie Jackson, Executive Director of America's Black Holocaust Museum, to do 6 shows about race in America. On August 22nd and 23rd, we're going to talk about the history you never learned, facts about race in America. On August 29th and 30th, we're going to talk about why we think the way we do, unpacking implicit bias. Last, on September 5th and 6th, we're going to talk about why what we say and what we do matters. Getting woke, staying woke, and doing woke things. So white folks, you got questions you've never asked? Write them down, tune in, and call in starting August 22nd through September 6th on Dawn of the Resistance on WRRD 1510 AM, always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union yes.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators. We've officially moved into our new space off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and we're excited to announce that Madison Liquidators is now Dane County's premier dealer for Groupe Lacoste. In addition to their unbeatable 25-year warranty, Groupe Lacoste has 10 lines to choose from, ranging from traditional to ultra-modern, all available in 18 different finishes. Give me a call and let's make a plan for your space, or go online to madisonliquidators.com and shop our complete inventory of used office furniture.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The young woman who was fatally shot near Moody Park on Sunday evening was a community activist who fought against gun violence and hate. 20-year-old Juanita Jackson had just helped to organize a youth event at Moody Park on Saturday. Jackson worked with the Children's Outing Association, programmed the park's MKE, and Fresh Empire, an anti-tobacco group. In a Facebook message on Saturday, Jackson encouraged people to attend the youth event, saying, quote, "It's time to put the guns down and start bringing our loved ones and friends and family together again," end quote. A reward of $25,000 is being offered for information leading to an arrest. Anyone with information is urged to call the Milwaukee Police Department. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
The Devil's Advocates, so relevant they have one foot in tomorrow.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dom, I'd like to move this show forward, but I got to look back just for a moment. Donald Trump, yesterday at the G7, was looking forward to next year's G7 at his golf course at Doral, just outside Miami, right?
Yep.
And, you know, he's talking about the fine cabanas. They got like 50 rooms per cabana. And
that's right by the airport.
Everybody.
Yeah, beautiful.
And obviously, earlier today, we told about the breaking news. The Attorney General of the United States apparently renting a room from Trump for a big soiree on December 8th. That one's going to cost about $30,000. And we watched this corrupt bastard of a president self-enrich, although he tells the people, he lies to the people. Oh, you know, I'm losing billions being the president. Well, resign now, sir.
Right. He continues, if that's true, he continues to be a terrible businessman.
Yes, he is. But, Dominic, the president tweeted out this morning, and apparently there was a Twitter trend afoot yesterday. Let me just read from the Washington Post. President Trump on Tuesday blamed radical left Democrats for spreading a false and nasty rumor about a bedbug infestation at his golf resort in Doral, Florida, after he said he would like to hold next year's Group of 7 summit at the properties. Here's what Trump apparently wrote in a mid-morning tweet, Dom. No bedbugs at Doral. The radical left Democrats, upon hearing that the perfectly located for the next G7 Doral National Miami, all caps, was under consideration for the next G7, spread the false and nasty rumor. Not nice. In 2016, Doral was sued by a former guest, Eric Linder, who said he had gotten bitten multiple times by bed bugs while staying in the luxury Jack Nicklaus villa at Trump's property. His complaint alleged that he awoke to discover welts, lumps, and marks over much of his face, neck, arms, and torso.
Ew.
I bet you many of Trump's former dates have had that same experience, Dom.
That goes away after a shot of penicillin.
Linder alleged that the villa had a history of severe bedbug infestation. Now, Dom, the Trump organization denied the allegation without going into detail. It settled the case in 2017, shortly after Trump's inauguration. And Neil, because you always pay when you didn't have sex with the porn star.
Right, and you settle cases that, are untrue just to make them go away.
Whether it's Trump University or a case of a bedbug infestation at Doral. Neil Hirschfeld, a Florida attorney who represented Linder in the bedbug lawsuit, said he could not comment Tuesday because the settlement included a confidentiality clause.
Oh, come on.
If there were no bed bugs, you could talk about that, couldn't you? Well, there wouldn't be a clause.
I'm curious to know, because obviously Trump is saying that this is untrue. If Trump brings it up, if the other party says that, are they not also under the condition of confidentiality? So what?
That
the Trump organization can lie about the bed bugs and basically what? Call the person a liar. This is not true. And the person cannot respond because of the confidentiality? That doesn't seem right.
Well, Trump probably had to write a check. It was probably worded properly. Justice is not always fair, Dom. Go sue the bastard. Get in line. Reports about the settlement, the bedbug infestation settlement, resurfaced on social media Monday after Trump held a joint news conference with French President Emmanuel Macron at the end of the G7 summit in France. At the news conference, Trump sought to make a case for convening the next G7 at the Trump National Doral, Miami. By Monday night, the hashtag Trump bedbugs was trending on Twitter. Those needling Trump included university professor and author Seth Abramson, who wrote, next year it's G7 million, 7 world leaders, and 6,999,993 bed bugs at Trump Doral. At a Monday news conference, Trump touted the location and amenities of his property. Doral happens to be only 5 minutes from the airport, and the airport's right next door, he told reporters. That'll be great for sleeping in. And by the way, my people looked at 12 sites, all good, but some were 2 hours from the airport, some 4 hours. We have a series of magnificent buildings. We call them bungalows. They each hold 50 to 70 rooms. They have magnificent views of the bed bugs, he added. And what we also have is Miami. Yeah, Miami is nice, Tom.
Bungalows?
So anyways, bugs, bed bugs at Doral, an infestation thereof.
So
My
gross.
understanding is the kitchen at Mar-a-Lago was also shut down for some short period of time for lots of sanitation violations, Tom.
I know we're going to get to the rural and urban divide, Curdy, but since we're on Trump, I got some breaking news.
I was setting you up, buddy.
From the Washington Post.
Send them back. It's an infestation. Send them back.
Ann Marlmo reports from the Washington Post. President Trump's biggest lender is in possession of tax records Congress is seeking in targeting the president's financial dealings, the bank told a federal appeals court in New York Tuesday. The disclosure from Deutsche Bank came in response to a court order as part of a legal battle between Congress and the president over access to Trump's business records. The bank's public redacted response filed Tuesday did not identify by name whose record it has. The revelation provides new details about the pool of possible documents Congress could eventually obtain. The House Financial Services and Intelligence Committees have subpoenaed the banks for years of financial documents from the president, his 3 eldest children, and the president's companies. Based on Deutsche Bank's current knowledge and the result of the extensive searches that have already been conducted, the bank has in its possession tax returns in either draft or as filed form. Responsive to the subpoenas, the bank's lawyers told the New York-based U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. An unredacted version of the letter with names of individuals or entities was also filed under seal with the court and followed a spirited discussion during oral arguments last week. Lawyers for Deutsche Bank and Capital One had refused to answer questions from a 3-judge panel about whether the banks have Trump's tax returns. Attorneys for both banks said contractual obligations prevented the institutions from responding before being directed by the judges to file a letter under seal on the issue of the returns. In its letter Tuesday, Deutsche Bank said it was redacting the names of specific individuals from the public filing because of privacy concerns. The bank seeks to redact the names of specific individuals to strike an appropriate balance between compliance with the court's order and a competing client privacy consideration. The second bank, Crudy Capital One, told the court it does not have any tax returns responsive to the House subpoena.
I wonder if someone could hack Capital One and find out for sure.
Ooh. Hey, Russia, if you're listening.
Now, my question of you, my little buddy, is if Donald Trump is a tax cheat, and I have every thought that he probably is, right? If the guy's been laundering money, as we strongly suspect, do you think he went out there and fully disclosed all that through his taxes? I mean, there could be irregularities, and my understanding is he is trying to unduly influence the audit process. You know, all presidents subject to audit. It's not an Audi, it's an audit. But, I mean, the guy's not going to tell the truth on his taxes anyways, right?
No.
He thinks he's above the law.
Curdy, one other paragraph here. The House committee leaders, Reps Maxine Waters and Adam Schiff, want to examine the relationship between Trump and Deutsche Bank as part of a larger examination of Russian money laundering and potential foreign influence on Trump. Now, again, reporting today coming out that at the G7, Trump was in some discussions, some heated discussions about his wanting to bring Putin back into Russia, back into the G8. And some folks were not so down with that, given the history. And then you have to wonder, why does Trump continually support Putin?
Well, that's where the money comes from, Dom.
So
maybe
no,
not directly from Putin, but by Putin-supported oligarchs who then buy real estate for cash, effectively allowing Donald Trump to gain large heaps of cash and launder money, as I believe they call it.
That would seem to be a crime if that were to happen, right?
But my expectation is that Donald Trump didn't itemize from money laundering on his tax returns.
You don't think that's there? So it may require some additional sleuthing to, wean out the specifics.
What is the greater crime, the money laundering or the lying about the money laundering? Either way, he did both.
Right. I mean, I guess he'd have to take it as income, right? Could the money I'm not even going to go down that road. It's bad, and hopefully these documents will be handed over to Congress per the lawful constitutional subpoenas, and somebody finally can start getting to the bottom of the Russian, Trump, Deutsche Bank, Manhattan real estate connections.
I would wonder, Deutsche Bank, apparently a prior lender to Donald Trump. In fact, Donald Trump still during the presidential campaign was still seeking additional dollars from Deutsche Bank, right? And they, for the first time ever, apparently had to say no to Donald Trump because even they realized the conflict that could bring. What if the president of the United States, who apparently you can't sue criminally, you can sue civilly, but if the guy defaults and says, pound sand, I'm not going to pay you, what are you going to go to foreclose on him?
Right.
On the president of the United States? I'm not clear that Deutsche Bank, through their prior interactions with this man, of course, no one should have ever loaned him money. So why would Deutsche Bank do it? Deutsche Bank's got a history of money laundering in their own regard on behalf of their very rich clients.
But specifically money laundering for Russian clients, Russian oligarchs, specifically. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars in fines related to that crime.
Well, here's what I would say could be contained in the tax returns that are in the possession of Deutsche Bank. Well, if Donald Trump made disclosures, and of course, I've borrowed money from banks before. I've done commercial borrowing, but you make lots and lots of disclosures about your financial worth. And I'm sure Donald Trump probably fluffed the ball up a bit.
You think?
You know, I think when he wanted to borrow money, you know, the assets were valued higher.
But we wanted to pay the taxes. They're probably valued a little lower, or the insurance premiums.
Or even when you make your federal income tax filing, you probably value the assets a little bit lower, unless, of course, you're in the midst of depreciating them. So I've got to think, even within the loan process, I'm just speculating here, but I suspect there's contradictory information between the applications and the value of the assets as represented to Deutsche Bank and the actual representation of the income as given to the U.S. government.
Didn't
Trump's lying on his taxes or he's lying on his loan app, but they're going to be in they're going to be
or both
contradictory
or both
in probability both,
and wasn't
it's an overinflation on the loan app and it's an underinflation on the federal taxes because that's how he plays the game.
Didn't Manafort, or weren't some of the charges for him also bank fraud for doing similar things?
Yes, and Michael Cohen as well.
And let's not
it's the company you keep, Dom.
When Trump was in negotiations for the Trump Tower, he was trying to line up financing with a sanctioned Russian bank, the VTB Bank. Remember that little tidbit?
I didn't know you couldn't do that. You couldn't borrow money from a sanctioned foreign bank in the midst of a presidential campaign, Dom. Well, the people elected him anyway, so he's fully vetted.
Yeah, see, it's all good. Doesn't matter. People had the opportunity to weigh in, and they voted for him anyway because, of course, Donald Trump stood up and told the world, hey, I'm building Trump Tower Moscow, and Pooty Poot's going to get the 50th floor penthouse and vote for me because that would be really great. He didn't say that. Of course, he comes out after the fact and tries to rewrite history and says, oh, everybody knew I was involved in Russia.
Well, Dominic, Michael Cohen literally is sitting in federal prison in part for lying to Congress about the Trump Tower deal and when that deal ended. And Donald Trump did not make full disclosure to the American people, of course.
Hell no.
Rudy told us that deal was going on, up to probably Election Day.
Up to October, November.
Now, Michael Cohen had told the Congress that the dealings were done by January of 2016, right? And Trump told us many times, I've got no dealings with Russia.
Nothing to do with Russia. No, nothing at all.
Other than the letter of intent and the strong desire to build a Trump Tower Moscow. And of course, to lose the election and continue to get rich, or at least Trump's perception of rich, and to roll out Trump TV. That was his plan. Come back with us. We always got a plan. Or Devil's on the Other Side.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio. Tune in for special Labor Fest coverage on WRRD and Talk 92.7 FM Labor Day, Monday, September 2nd, live from the Summerfest grounds. Earl Ingram Jr. will be broadcasting noon to 3 p.m., bringing exclusive interviews with brothers and sisters in labor, local union leadership, and Wisconsin politicians. Exclusive noon to 3 Labor Fest broadcast sponsored by the Milwaukee Area Labor Council and its affiliated members and our friends at Teamsters Local 344 and Teamsters Local 200. Only on WRRD 1510 AM, WTTN 1580 AM, and Talk 92.7 FM.
We the people, the hardworking 99% of men and women, only have a voice when we join together as one and amplify our message. Now is the time for all Wisconsinites to join We the People and raise our voices. Do you feel like you are wasting your money funding unaccountable consultants, unresponsive candidates, and their campaigns? Help us do something that really matters. Please join We the People. Give what you can so we can support progressive radio stations like this one, using the public airwaves to educate Wisconsin about what we the people want for our state and remind Wisconsin's politicians that they work for us. Your donations to We the People at p4ppc.org, a registered, compliant IRS 501c3, will always be tax deductible, will always remain anonymous, and We the People pledge to spend 100% of donations educating Wisconsin on the issues our donors want discussed, giving individuals a voice in the collective message of We the People. Please give today at p4ppc.org. That's p4ppc.org. We the people need you. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Oh boy.
Aleppo? What is Aleppo? Dom and Krutz are the devil's advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we've added another fine guest in the 5 o'clock hour. We've got state rep, State Senator Jeff Smith. You know, he was a state rep before he was a state senator, and he'll be calling in the 5 o'clock hour. And we've also added Joint Finance Committee Democrat Chris Taylor. She's going to comment on the illegal special closed meeting they had today, this lame duck lawsuit. Legislation and the lawsuits and the effect it's having on the Attorney General. We'll discuss that with Chris Taylor. I'm not even going to try to characterize what sort of a Trumpster fire it has become, because we got some fine callers. Let's get to them. 844-967-2789. Dick, you're first. What's up?
A while back, the New York Times, the insert that comes on Sunday, the magazine, they had a long article on Trump and his dad and how all this money was made. And it's so convoluted it would take a Philadelphia lawyer and I don't know how many accountants years to untangle this. It's just amazing. They had stuff going on like these bogus maintenance fees that you paid over and above your rent. And basically, they skimmed that money and threw it in another account. And
well, that's money laundering, Dick. And the fortunate thing for the Teflon Don was the timing of that long read report. It first hit the New York Times the Wednesday of the Kavanaugh hearings. And by Sunday, the magazine insert, I mean, Kavanaugh was on the lips of everyone, Dick. And I think that story got short shift, and we never did explore the fact that Donald Trump is a huge tax cheat, and they used the financial disclosures of his own sister, a federal judge, to damn him. And, of course, you know, Trump's still the president.
Well, damn him, damn her, damn the whole damn family. They were all Dick taking advantage of this. I mean, it's not like Trump, obviously, to my understanding, benefited more than others, but everyone was involved, including the federal judge.
Well, his sister had to resign her judgeship, or she would have come under ethics scrutiny.
Right, but he himself was trying to totally, you know, get over on both of his siblings and his brother that passed away. And the guy, let's face it, he's been the biggest crook on earth for God knows how long. And it's all there. We just...
well, it's all there in the tax filings, Dick, and I appreciate the call, and that's why we've got to get our hands on them, or at least that would be the rallying call of so many of these Democrats. Yeah, they want to see the taxes because, of course, they're contradictory to other disclosures. anyone else would be subject to probably imprisonment for the sort of fraud perpetrated by Donald Trump. At minimum, they'd be subject to huge fines. Donald Trump less so. 844-967-2789. You called for it, Dom. We got him. It's Farmer Bill. How you been?
Hey, Farmer Bill. How you doing, man?
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Wow. We're out in the Aronia fields. We're picking like crazy. And I said, I'll take over driving, but somebody said I should call into a show. So so all my farmer buddies are like, they're like, what? You got friends?
Farmer Bill, got to ask you, you do the Aronia berries, and we've talked about those many times on our show in the past, but are you seeing an effect from the Trump tariffs? Is your product something that is shipped internationally, or is it primarily for domestic use, Bill?
Yeah, no, we're pretty local. If we need to import, it'd be from Poland. We're doing a little exporting to China. I'm kind of concerned as to how it'll affect it there. I haven't seen anything. I mean, we're so small fry. I mean, it's sort of a different issue. I think China wants to target, things that they're gonna play the long game, right? They can target soybeans and put the hurt on Trump. They know he's got to win an election, and they're not in a hurry, so they're just gonna let it sit, let those soybeans sit. And there's a lot of farmers that are, we've sure they're not listening to the show, but we've got some people that work because we got the whole corn side, right? And we do corn and soybeans too. And these dealers listen to, righty-tighty all day. And I can just tell, like, over the summer and fall, like, they weren't so interested in talking about that because it was like everything that they thought Trump would be is, like, kicking them in the butt. And so they're kind of in a quandary. I don't know.
Will they stand by their man, Bill? Ultimately, will it affect their vote, or are they going to, toughen up and suck up the pain, as I believe Senator Lindsey Graham said? Stop
their whining, Bill.
Yeah, it's kind of like the people that didn't want to vote for Hillary. It's like some of them will suck it up and vote for Hillary. Some of them won't go to the polls. I mean, and that's what cost her the election because, she wasn't that. I think the whole thing with Hillary is like people just didn't really like her personally that much. They thought she was, this and that. And it trimmed her numbers to the point where she didn't pull it off, even though it was like obviously she was going to win. And everybody's like, oh, shit. Oops. But
oops, sorry, Bill, man. Come on, Bill. It's been too long.
We appreciate it, Bill.
Got to work him back in. Get him radio ready again.
844-967-2789. Let's do cut number one. I know we're going to run out of here in about 60 seconds, 90 seconds. But if you would, Keith, cut number one, Lindsey Graham talking about accepting the pain.
Every Democrat and every Republican of note has said China cheats. The Democrats for years have been claiming that China should be stood up to. Now Trump is, and we just got to accept the pain that comes with standing up to China. How do you get China to change without creating some pain on them and us? I don't know.
And perhaps he has a point, but again, my issue, and I think a lot of the farmers in this state and around the country are, Trump, you didn't run saying, hey, I'm going to screw a bunch of you guys, but, if you can just, ride it out as long as you can, maybe on the other side we'll come out with a better deal. I mean, most people don't have that kind of staying power. The state of Wisconsin is losing more dairy farms than every other state in the country. And I don't care if you're a conservative farmer or a liberal farmer. Those things, that's bad for business. That's bad for the state of Wisconsin.
Take the pain. Bend over and take it. We got a fine guest coming next. State Senator Jeff Smith. He's a fine Dem. He's a rural Dem. Going to stay on this topic when the happy hour commences.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union yes.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com. You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Tropical Storm Dorian, Epstein hearing. I'm Ann Cates. Tropical Storm Dorian is bearing down on Puerto Rico, now 330 miles away. Meteorologist Tom Sater says predicting Dorian's path is tricky.
It's the track that means everything. If this threads the needle and stays over warmer waters, it's got a better chance to develop and strengthen. If it makes its way toward the west, toward, let's say, Dominican Republic, and interacts with the land in some of that higher terrain, that could break the system apart. Because it's a small storm, it's very vulnerable to all the elements.
Dorian is now packing 50-mile-an-hour winds. The U.S. Virgin Islands are under a tropical storm warning and could see up to 4 inches of rain. The system may take aim at Florida at the end of the week. Sex trafficking victims of the late billionaire Jeffrey Epstein have had their day in court.
They didn't get to face their tormentor at trial, but several women, including Jennifer Arose, had the opportunity to speak in a federal courtroom about the things Jeffrey Epstein did to them and the lasting effect.
I wanted to thank the judge for letting us speak. Having some closure.
Several women, though, expressed frustration that the legal system let them down once before in Florida, and now Jeffrey Epstein robbed them of an opportunity to confront him. For that, they called him a coward. Steve Kastenbaum at Federal Court in Manhattan.
President Trump and world leaders at the G7 summit did not agree with his suggestion that Russia should be readmitted into the group. Correspondent Jeremy Diamond.
He did have some support from the Italian leader Conte, for example, but it was very clear that there was no consensus between these leaders on bringing Russia back into the fold, and several of those European leaders arguing, in fact, that Russia's behavior has gotten worse and that under those circumstances, Russia should certainly not rejoin.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 121 points, the S&P off 9, the Nasdaq down 27. I'm Ann Cates.
The Packing House, where you can experience the soulful dimensions of Joe Jordan and the Soul Trio every second and fourth Saturday of the month, where you can also enjoy live music 4 nights a week, Wednesday through Saturday, some of the best local talent around. It's never a cover charge. Schedule online at packinghousemke.com or give us a call at 414-483-5054. Great food, handcrafted cocktails across the street from the airport on Layton. Packing House, a family owned and operated since 1974.
5 Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
From Milwaukee to Madison, state government shapes our lives for better or worse. Let's talk about it. I'm State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa. Join me for the Jocasta Show, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WRRD, 1510 a.m.
The SATs no longer look at a student's hardships, an idea that College Board Chief Executive David Coleman admitted was a mistake.
2 years ago, the board tried to level the playing field by introducing the adversity score, a pilot program that used a formula that combined school factors like advanced courses and grades, as well as things like the crime rate that the student was exposed to, and whittle it down to a single number. Coleman told the AP the single score was confusing. In its place will be something called Landscape, a tool that will give a series of data points, such as where a school is located, the size of the senior class, the number of underprivileged kids that go there, and performance on placement tests, in the hopes of providing a more comprehensive look at a student's history. I'm John Stolness.
Consumer confidence is inching lower. According to the Conference Board, the outlook of Americans this month is down a fraction compared to July, when the consumer confidence reading soared. I'm Ann Cates.
Attention.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson.
Mueller, in an exhaustive and excruciatingly detailed investigation, found no evidence of conspiracy conclusion. Kind of end of story.
You cannot say that. The evidence they found did not rise.
I just said
the evidence doesn't make it true, sir. The evidence they found, according to the Mueller report, did not rise to criminal conspiracy. They used encrypted data. They deleted data. They didn't have access to some of the Russian players. You didn't know that your president that you voted for was in negotiations to build a condo in Moscow and give Putin a cherry on top.
Just dropped your pen.
I did. I get a little excited.
Calm down here, Don.
But here's a lot of things that I would say, yes, there is absolutely collusion. Now, does it rise to criminal conspiracy? They could not prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, that's not no conspiracy.
I'm just watching the veins,
I know.
The veins pop out of your neck here, and I'm getting a little concerned about you, Don.
I'll be all right if you just answer the question, sir.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. In a news release yesterday, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul said state residents should not try to take the law into their own hands. The Attorney General stated that he was concerned about a resurgence of civilians attempting to lure suspected online predators. Kaul said that vigilante sting operations are illegal and they put innocent bystanders in danger. Kaul added that vigilante actions can increase the chance that someone who has committed a crime will go free. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, mostly clear skies with lows around 58 in Milwaukee, 55 in Madison. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with highs around 71. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's political talk.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour. And, buddy, we're going to try to slide 2 interviews into the next half an hour, so we better get started. Right now, we welcome a fine guest. He is State Senator Jeff Smith. Welcome back, Jeff. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio
Mike.
Show.
Good to hear.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good.
And,
Yeah,
Jeff,
Tom.
mistitled you as state rep earlier today. I apologize. You are a recently elected state senator. You have the seat that once upon a time Kathleen Weinhaut held for some period of time. And Jeff, I'm going to hold you up as a representative of rural Wisconsin at this time, sir. And I got to ask you, what is going on out there on the farms, Jeff? What are your constituents telling you currently with the Trump tariffs?
They're in trouble. They're in trouble, but it's kind of a weird sense I get out there right now. They're still hanging on with their hope that what they believed in 2016 is still going to come true, that this guy is going to play hardball and they're all going to suffer for a while, but then they're going to win in the end. But I think, as you may also believe, that the hen is coming to roost sometime soon, and it's not gonna hold true for him.
Jeff, my understanding, state of Wisconsin leads the nation currently in small farm bankruptcies, and I would say that trajectory preceded Trump. What is going on out on the farms? Why is it so difficult for the small family farmers to raise their cattle or raise their crops and sell them profitably. Jeff, what has changed?
What has changed is that in the last 15 years, there's been a glut in large farming. So we have the CAFOs, the concentrated animal feeding operations, have moved in, and there's been of course many farmers who have fallen for the belief that they have to get bigger to survive, and without any consideration of what happens around them, and I'm talking about their neighbors, and so what we have happening is a really efficient production of less cows and more milk overall. That all sounds weird when I just said we have bigger farms, but we have thousands of animals on one place that have displaced hundreds of farmers all around that might have had 50, 100, or 250 cows and couldn't make it and compete with them. But they've driven the price down, just like everyone knows how Walmart does that, right? So Walmart buys in quantity, drives down the price, drives everybody else out of business, and then it's the only place left to go to.
Jeff, I just pulled up some numbers. In Wisconsin, CAFOs are defined as poultry feeding operations with at least 1,000 animal units or 1,000 beef cattle or 700 milking cows. I'm looking for the number here, Jeff, but I had seen is a drastically increasing number. Setting aside the pollution and the manure and the waste and the runoff, Jeff, obviously the small farmers can't compete profitably under these circumstances. And my understanding is the cost of so many of the commodities that these farmers produce, I mean, they've raised 30% over 30 years, Jeff. If they don't see the same sort of inflation in the commodities they create, well, of course, the business model becomes broken. Will we see the abandonment of the Wisconsin farms? And what does that mean politically, sir?
It's a scary thought, Mike. And you're also seeing a spike in farmer suicides, along with those bankruptcies, along with the failures and I mean, right now the price of milk is around $17.85 per hundredweight, and that is barely just covering their expenses, and that's been going on for a long time. I often hear comparisons to the 80s, which some of us have lived through, and we're maybe at arm's length too. But right now, I feel like we're all in this one, and if we don't take some actions soon, we are going to probably see the end of what we consider the dairy industry in Wisconsin, which is the small family farm that you see scattered around the hillsides and around Wisconsin, and that would be a disaster.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That is State Senator Jeff Smith joining us on the phones. Jeff, I'm curious to know what you're hearing. Number one, are the farmers that are struggling, are they getting a piece of the $12 billion subsidy? Some would call it socialism, but are they getting a piece of that? And as compared to the CAFOs, are they also, because of these bigger operations, are they getting a bigger chunk of this $12 billion subsidy from the administration?
They are not getting what they are losing. And what did I heard? I heard one dairy farmer tell a group that he had it all figured out. If he was going to get, I can't even remember now. It was like getting $300 a month back when he's losing $1,500 a month.
Right.
So yeah, it's not helping.
Can't make that up on volume, Jeff.
No, you can't.
Presumably there are, and you're a Democratic official in the urban areas, but presumably there are a lot of conservatives out there, Jeff. Is there any sense of their thoughts of relying on this? I'll call it socialism, this subsidy, this bailout, because of Donald Trump's tariff. Do they see any irony in that? And because, of course, a lot of the Republicans are, really against socialism these days, Jeff.
They are, and isn't it amazing, Dom, how quiet they are about that? I don't hear any of them saying, but they're more than willing. There are some of those Republicans who themselves have some large farms, and they're more than willing to take advantage of it. But if we were to see somebody who was really hitting bottom take advantage of the programs that are out there to help them out, they would be all over them, that they should get a job, find something else.
Jeff, what role, and we're about out of time, my friend, but what role does state government play in giving some relief to these farmers?
All right, we have some things that we can do. First of all, there is a public comment period right now going on around the livestock sighting rules. Now that's important because that's really the beginning back in 2005 when it was implemented of inviting large operations into the state. So if we are able to regulate them a little stricter, have more local control over that, and implement the rules that the DATCAP is now suggesting, that can help. There's other things we need to introduce, but a lot of it has to happen nationally. We need our farm organizations to come together. There was a time over the past year when I thought that was going to happen, and I am still hopeful that it will. But we need the Farm Bureau and Farmers Union, Dairy Business Association to actually admit that there's a problem, and let's get through this 12-point program and fix it.
Jeff Smith, State Senator, we appreciate you joining us here on the Devil's Advocates. Thank you so much, Jeff. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Just for the record, Dom, 304 active CAFOs in the state of Wisconsin. That is up from 135 15 years ago.
Wow.
Coming up next, State Rep Chris Taylor. She's a Dem. She's on the Joint Finance Committee, and they have had all sorts of shenanigans going on there. We will have Chris Taylor tell us all about it next. Come back, more Devils.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
Tune in for special Labor Fest coverage on WRRD and Talk 92.7 FM Labor Day, Monday, September 2nd, live from the Summerfest grounds. Earl Ingram Jr. will be broadcasting noon to 3 p.m., bringing exclusive interviews with brothers and sisters in labor, local union leadership, and Wisconsin politicians. Exclusive noon to 3 Labor Fest broadcast sponsored by the Milwaukee Area Labor Council and its affiliated members and our friends at Teamsters Local 344 and Teamsters Local 200. Only on WRRD 1510 AM, WTTN 1580 AM, and Talk 92.7 FM.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
Madison Liquidators has officially moved into a bigger, nicer showroom off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and they are proud to announce they have expanded to provide educational and healthcare institutional furnishings. They have great new offerings of quality new office furnishings from industry leaders like Groupe Lacoste and Via Seating, and you can see the expanded and extensive inventory of used furniture online at MadisonLiquidators.com, or you can call Kelly and have her help you make a plan for your new space. Start today at MadisonLiquidators.com and tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. If you missed any of this fine program, please go online, domandcroot.com. You can listen to and download podcasts and interviews.
Thank you, State Senator Jeff Smith. Welcome our good friend, State Rep Chris Taylor from Madison. She is a Joint Finance Committee Dem. Chris, I understand you're calling in from the Dells. We appreciate you doing so. What happened?
Thanks. Yeah.
What happened today? And this, of course, revolves around the lame duck And Josh called the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin. Right. And apparently he's got to, go beg the permission of the Republican-dominated Joint Finance Committee before he can make a financial settlement on behalf of the state. And what sort of mischief has that led to, Chris?
Oh, my gosh. You can't even believe it. It was such a circus today in the Joint Finance Committee, mainly because, frankly, my Republican colleagues did not think through, or perhaps they just didn't care about what the effect of their dirty duck laws were going to have on the ability of our Attorney General, who was elected by the state of Wisconsin, the people of Wisconsin, his ability to actually do his job and get cases settled. There are hundreds of cases that the AG is working on to move along in the process and to get settled. And what my Republican colleagues did in December when they passed the dirty duck was say he can't settle any cases without coming in front of the Joint Finance Committee. And that creates all kinds of problems because attorneys have confidentiality with their clients. In this case, it's a complicated multi-state case where this was started by Brad Schimmel, by the way, where he entered into agreements with other attorneys general in other states to basically pursue a litigation where they need to share information. And so there's an understanding that in that instance, you can waive your attorney-client privilege. But what can happen is you can't tell the whole world what's going on when you have one of these agreements. And so, it was a really horrible, sad day because what we saw today was the Attorney General can't do his job, cannot do his job without either violating his ethical, legal duty of confidentiality or complying with the dirty duck. He cannot violate the attorney-client privilege and the agreement that we have with all these other states with confidentiality and comply with the dirty duck. So he's in a horrible pickle, a horrible situation. What we did, as the Democrats did, was we tried to get a motion passed saying, let the man do his job and get this one case settled. Just this one case. We weren't undoing all of their mischief over this horrible lame duck. We weren't doing anything like that. Said, let him just move along because obviously the Republicans did not think through. Or maybe they did, and they just really don't want this Attorney General to do anything for our state, including get perhaps a big monetary settlement.
And Chris, my understanding is that forced a closed session of the Joint Finance Committee, first one in over 30 years. It has been characterized as perhaps illegal, didn't meet the standard of what the agenda of the meeting was supposed to be, because that could not be enumerated either. So, Chris, effectively, the Joint Finance Committee, breaks laws so they can force the Attorney General to comply with the lame duck laws? I mean, this is very confusing, Miss.
It is very confusing. I mean, basically, the premise in our state is we have an open meetings law, and we have a strong history of saying with the legislature, you can't go into closed session except under certain circumstances, right? Because the public should have a right to see what their elected representatives are doing. And so in order for the Attorney General to talk about this case that he's trying to get settled, the Republicans moved to go into this closed session. The problem is they had no basis for doing so. They used this this exception that says, well, if you're some kind of a government committee or government entity, you can go into closed session to consult with your attorneys if you're in litigation or contemplating litigation. Well, the Joint Finance Committee, we don't have an attorney. Unbeknownst to us, apparently we do. We did have an attorney, and when we said, well, what's the basis? We're not consulting with an attorney. We're not represented by the AG. We're not part of this litigation. John Nygren was to tell us that Robin Voss's staff was our attorney.
What?
Who was trying to give us advice. Yeah, so he, when we said you have no basis for doing this, we have no, we can go into closed session if we're talking to our attorney about potential litigation we're involved in. Well, first of all, the Joint Finance Committee, we don't have any authority to litigate things. And secondly, we don't have our own attorneys. And when we brought this up that you were unlawfully closing down a public meeting, John Nygren said, well, Robin Voss's staff member now is representing, I guess, all of us on the Joint Finance Committee, who's also, by the way, Robin Voss is actually suing the Attorney General on, there's a pending case where Robin Voss is suing the Attorney General. So it was unlawful for us to close what's supposed to be an open meeting. But secondly, what was so wrong about what happened today is you could see the impact of these lame duck laws. And the impact of them is that our Attorney General, who is elected to do a job, cannot do the job. He cannot do the job because these lame duck laws require him to make disclosures to the legislature that he legally cannot make because they're supposed to be in confidence.
Folks who are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, that is our friend State Rep Chris Taylor. She joins us on the phone. Chris, now that we have a specific example, and I guess I'm unclear if there were others, but let's say this is the first example of the lame duck.
There will be others.
Yeah, there will be others,
Yeah.
but the lame duck laws impacting the ability of the AG to do his job, this specific example,
Right.
are the laws themselves? I know they were challenged. Where do we stand on these particular laws that would require the AG to get the Republicans' approval to do his job?
Right, it's ridiculous. I mean, at this point, look, the Attorney General is between a rock and a hard place. Either he maintains his confidentiality with in this agreement, in this multi-state kind of compact, or he complies with the lame duck and discloses confidential communications. We then could open ourselves up to being sued by these other states that are relying on us to keep what's going on. You know, when you're settling a case, you're not usually talking about it in public. You're not usually going into the details of it. So what came out today is, look, if this Attorney General discloses things that are supposed to be kept confidential, and these other partners in this case find out, the taxpayers of our state could be liable.
Right.
Because we just violated something. So it just creates an untenable situation. And frankly, this is what we said when they passed these dumb laws. I said explicitly, this never is going to work.
Chris,
it's never going to work because attorneys we have to ethically keep confidences with our clients.
Chris, we have 2 minutes left. Is time of the essence on this settlement case? Is there going to be follow-up? I mean, is there a deadline? Where do we stand there?
Yes, there is a deadline. I mean, again, this is complicated multi-state litigation. There perhaps is a large financial settlement perhaps involved. We don't know the details. So the Attorney General, yes, he has a time limit. He has to get back to the other plaintiffs. The state of Wisconsin has joined other states in bringing this complicated case forward. So, yeah, it's this week.
And Chris,
we've got to get it resolved.
This directive to the Attorney General through the lame duck legislation seems like a big separation of powers issue. Of course, we know the
absolutely.
Wisconsin Supreme Court is partisan. Chris, how does this resolve? How does the Attorney recoup his powers under law?
You know, there might be some things that can be done. You can always go to court and get some kind of what we call a declaratory judgment. I mean, at this point, he can't get the legislature to agree to let him do his job and settle these cases, and yet he can't disclose without violating his own ethic and legal obligation to keep these communications confidential. And so, you know, sometimes as an attorney, you have to go to court and ask them, what the heck do you do? That we need a pronouncement on what the heck is the law when you have this conflict. And the Attorney General truly cannot do his job because the Republicans refuse to let him do it.
Yeah.
Chris Taylor, our good friend, State Rep, Joint Finance Committee, Democrat, thank you so much for joining us on very short notice today, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
My greatest concern, Dom, is it will go to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and, you know, the ends justify the means. They will decide it's right because we say it's right. Constitution be damned. Come back with us. It's the happy hour. It continues with your phone calls at 844-967 2789. Maybe more Hall & Oates.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
All right, what does your church tell you about when people say that they're the second coming of God? My reason tells me the man is certifiable. I want your opinion, Gary.
I would say anybody who comes back and says that, I would say he would be the Antichrist.
I am the chosen one.
So Trump is the Antichrist then, Gary, by that logic?
No, I'm not saying he is, but I'm
But
saying
he said he's the chosen one.
I am the chosen one.
Gary, by your biblical logic, Donald Trump is the Antichrist.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Hey guys, this is Maggie Dawn, host of Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 p.m. Starting August 22nd, I'm going to be joined in studio with Dr. Fran Kaplan and Reggie Jackson, Executive Director of America's Black Holocaust Museum, to do 6 shows about race in America. On August 22nd and 23rd, we're going to talk about the history you never learned, facts about race in America. On August 29th and 30th, we're going to talk about why we think the way we do, unpacking implicit bias. Last, on September 5th and 6th, we're going to talk about why what we say and what we do matters. Getting woke, staying woke, and doing woke things. So white folks, you got questions you've never asked? Write them down, tune in, and call in starting August 22nd through September 6th on Dawn of the Resistance on WRRD 1510 AM, always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
Got unwanted pests in your home or business? Call Get Rid Pest Control at 414-368-0696. State licensed and certified with over 20 years experience, Get Rid Pest Control guarantees their work in the removal of common household pests, including mice, rats, ants, roaches, spiders, centipedes, and bedbugs. Humane trapping and removal of larger pests as well. Unmarked vehicles available upon request. 24-hour emergency service available. Call Get Rid Pest Control today for your free estimate. 414-368-0696. If you got it, we'll get it.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Senator Ron Johnson has been denied a visa to visit Russia with other lawmakers. Johnson, who is chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, suggested the denial was in response to bills he sponsored that aim to hold Russia accountable for its aggression in Ukraine. Johnson has defended Russia in the past, saying the response to Russia for interfering in the U.S. presidential election was blown, quote, way out of proportion. And a new report shows that the state of Wisconsin took in over $75 million more than expected in the most recent fiscal year. The additional money gives the state a slightly bigger cushion in case an economic downturn reduces future revenue. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Happy Hour. Dom, it's continuing. And want to thank both of our recent fine guests, State Senator Jeff Smith, State Rep Chris Taylor, two fine Dems. Chris Taylor, of course, a Joint Finance Committee Democrat, And that is a mess they got going on there. And we always love talking to our audience. We'll get to you soon at 844-967-2789. And Don, we got a fine guest joining me here in the broadcast bunker tomorrow. My Congressman, Mark Pocan, coming around.
Nice.
Do you know he is literally the very first, number one, with the Talk 92.7 FM bumper sticker on the back of his car?
I did not.
Before I had it on my car, Mark Pocan put our bumper sticker on the back of his car.
You're welcome.
I love him for it.
He's coming on tomorrow. What time?
Coming in studio about 3:30 to 4 o'clock tomorrow. Excellent. Here in Madison.
Excellent.
Dominic wanted to throw an article out, at least get this one started. Greg Sargent at the Post. Trump is lying to farmers' faces, and they're finally getting angry about it. One of the worst habits around, among the D.C. commentariat is the tendency to treat President Trump's lies as if they possess magical qualities. Maybe I'm going to let you read first. Okay. We are constantly told that Trump lying works, a claim that rests on the idea that no matter what Trump says, his supporters will believe him. It's true that Trump supporters generally accept what he tells them, but the reverence accorded to Trump's powers of deception sometimes seem to imply that they have almost paranormal quality. And this takes things way too far. Case in point, American farmers, there are indications that they are now getting genuinely angry over Trump's efforts to gaslight them so shamelessly over the impact of the trade war with China. The New York Times has a good report that fleshes out the damage that farmers are sustaining right now and their reaction to it. China's retaliatory tariffs are closing off the biggest export market in the world, leading to a massive drop in exports of soybeans, pork, wheat, and other agricultural products. The administration has rolled out billions and billions of dollars in aid to farmer. You'd call it socialism, right, Tom?
So the Republicans, if it were anybody else.
But farm loan delinquencies and bankruptcies are rising, and the ripple effects are spreading, with one major manufacturer of agricultural equipment cutting its profit outlook this month.
Crudy, and Trump's trade war is only escalating. Trump has increased tariffs on Chinese products yet again, and China slapped new tariffs on $75 billion in U.S. exports. As the Times puts it, farmers are beginning to panic. What seems notable is that farmers' representatives are growing angry about what Trump is telling them about all this. Trump frequently makes such claims as, farmers are starting to do great again. That's a lie. But don't take my word for it. The New York Times reports that the head of a major farm group forcefully challenged that claim at a recent gathering with Trump's agricultural secretary, Sonny Perdue. Brian Thalman, the president of the Minnesota Corn Growers Association, told Perdue this: "We're not starting to do great again. Things are going downhill, and downhill quickly." This anger has been echoed by rank-and-file farmers, too. Even worse, Perdue tried to make a joke about farmers' travails, but it backfired. And we've said this, and I'll repeat it again. What do you call two farmers in a basement? Mr. Perdue asked while near the end of a testy hour-long town hall-style event. A wine cellar. A cascade of boos ricocheted around the room. Boo this man! Let's stipulate up front that there is likely zero chance that farmers or rural voters break with Trump in 2020. Still, this illustrates the limits on Trump's lying powers. If they stick with Trump, it isn't because he mesmerized them into ignoring reality. It's that they still see other reasons for sticking with him. Those are likely rooted in partisanship more than anything else. Farmers are overwhelmingly Republican voters.
844-967-2789. There is more to the Greg Sargent piece, but I think the farmers, maybe they'll wake up, Dom. One point I would make quickly, and then we'll get to Brock. He's calling from the rural parts of Wisconsin. Trump could not perpetrate these lies without co-conspirators.
Right.
And I mean right-wing talk radio, and I mean Fox News. Fox News, my understanding, I saw an article, I think it was at the Raw story. I might be wrong on that. But Fox News has not had a single negative farming story talking about the Chinese tariffs. The only farm story that Fox News has played Since these tariffs began, my understanding, according to this raw story piece I read earlier today, with some farmers saying, you do what you got to do, Mr. Trump. We're here for you. We support you in this effort. Well, that might reflect a singular opinion, Dom, but who wants to go bankrupt while Trump decides what his tariff policies might be?
Well, and who voted for Trump knowing that he was going to do this trade war and it was going to impact them to the degree that it has and that it will continue to do? I don't see where this is ending. I mean, if you got soybeans, you don't just flip markets. If they're getting them from Brazil or they're getting them from other countries, talking about China now, they've got new suppliers. It takes a while to ramp up and ramp down. And even if that were to be solved today, and it's not, you're still going to lose hundreds and hundreds of more farms.
844-967-2789. It's your turn, Brock. What do you got for us?
Well, if farmers are doing so good, I'm wondering why a lot of these fields aren't planted up where I live. If the prices are so good and everything is going the way it's supposed to, that would not be occurring. They farm everything. You can tell when the prices are high because every place you can plant anything growable or sellable is tilled up and planted, and that is not the case, especially this year, even more so than in years past. Granted, weird spring and lots of rain, nothing to do with climate change or anything, seems to have negatively affected this. Well, I tell you what, it used to get warm and rain at a level where the crops would grow in what I would consider a normal or beneficial way. The last 4 or 5 years, it's really become evident that is not happening anymore. Also, the price of bushels of crops, I don't think have gone up since the 80s probably, and if they have, it's 1 or 2%, and you can't make it on that. I don't know when the farmers are never going to break with these guys because they cost them generations of hard work trying to get into the Chinese market. I can remember in the 80s when that was a thing where they were going to access all these people in China that didn't have a way to support it or get food or raise food. That's generations worth of damage that you're not going to be able to fix because there literally is nowhere else to go with the product. Milk is the same thing. They got that price so low. I know several people that got out of it because they couldn't make money doing it. Now, if you find somebody hanging on the edge of a cliff, I don't know if you're responsible for putting them there, but if you step on their hands and they fall to their death, I would say you're probably culpable for them dying. And this trade policy is really affecting the farmers here, and it's really going to start to affect manufacturing when you can't get your goods out, when you can't get your goods into the ports, or you can't get the stuff you need out of the ports, and you're not going to win with China because they can manipulate the currency however they want. Beijing says we're doing it this way. That's the way they're doing it. Here, there's so much red tape, they can't even decide on if the sky is blue or if we should fund roads or maybe if the schools need enough money to have the electricity on. It's ridiculous. They're not going to break for him. Most of them are one-issue voters, and as long as he claims to be, against abortion, they'll back him. I don't understand it, but I appreciate your show, and I appreciate you keep throwing rocks at the glass house. My right arm is wore out, so I'm going to go throwing them with my left hand. I'll hang up, listen to what you had to say later.
All right, thanks. Later, Brock.
Brock, if you recall the biblical example, use a slingshot like David did on Goliath.
Oh.
Easier on the throwing wrist.
Yeah, throwing it with the other hand is a little more difficult. It always seems so awkward.
844-967-2789. While you were talking with Brock, I was looking up Scott Walker in China policy. Do you recall when Scott Walker went to China on a trade mission in 2013?
Vaguely, yes.
Scott Walker, in fact, had 2 different ventures targeted towards China. The global trade ventures. We advertised in China to do business with Wisconsin farmers. And in retrospect, that might have been one of the few things that Scott Walker did thoughtfully. But of course, he would support this very same president that's wrecking it. I don't see him tweeting out much about tariffs. And this was the very same thing that Scott Walker advocated for once upon a time. Back in 2015, he wanted Obama to cancel a state visit from Xi, right? Trust me, he did.
Sure. Why? Why did he want him to cancel the meeting?
Because, of course, China's a currency manipulator. And got to stand up for American markets. Well, your boy Trump, he's standing up for American markets now. How's that working out for Wisconsin farmers? Former Governor Scott.
Well, and that's another thing about trade wars or wars in general. It's one thing to say you're going to bomb the S out of them, right? You can do that on the stage, and people, they love it. It's very Rambo-y, man. That's my guy Trump, strong and strong.
They drew first blood.
Right. There's a new Rambo coming out anyway. But I digress. Like wars, what's the objective? What's the plan? What's plan B? What's plan C? How do you ramp it up? How do you wind it down? I mean, is there any sense that these very simple, basic questions have been thought through? I'm not convinced that it has. And Trump even overseas. Hey, any regrets? Any second thoughts? Oh yeah, why not? I have second thoughts about everything. What? This is the Messiah, the chosen one that the Republicans and apparently lots of farmers still continue to support. Here's the dirty little secret, folks. There is no plan. It's off the cuff. 5% tariffs, 10%, 15, 20. I've heard as high as 30 or 40%. I mean, there's no logic. There's no end game. There's no... What is success? Explain to the farmers of this country, Republicans and President Trump, what does success look like for your trade policy with China?
China dumping U.S. debt massively on the marketplaces and completely undermining the entire international financial markets. Or success. Hey, one quick one, then we'll go to break. An older Daily Beast piece, and a quote here from our pal. He was on yesterday. Scott Ross, then with the progressive group, One Wisconsin Now, criticizing the former governor for his apparent incongruency on China policy. As Scott Ross said then, Scott Walker doesn't understand what's going on in the world, and he doesn't know what's going on in his state. In his desperate attempt to out-Trump Trump, Scott Walker has out-Palined Sarah Palin. Damn, that stings a little.
Nice.
One other thing. It's pretty rich for a guy who's had 3 positions on immigration in a week to be telling the president to get a backbone. Let's not forget, Scott Walker was running for president in 2015. How'd that work out for him?
0.0.
I mean, Bobby Jindal got 200 votes in Iowa. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. Come back with us. We'll take more of your calls. I got one last thought for the panel. Dom, you're a dog guy, right?
Yes.
Do you know if you let your dog get killed, the state of Wisconsin will pay you $2,500?
What?
How much do you love your dog now? Come back with us. Yeah. It's been on the books since 1985, and they're collecting big bucks. 844-967-2789. Come back. We'll tell you all about it.
People say, chosen one! Ling? Hurry! I'm coming! Chosen one! I'm coming! Chosen one! I'm coming!
Sorry, Mom.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Amalgamated Transit Union Local 998 is made up of the drivers and mechanics, professionals in Milwaukee. We keep the buses running all night long and all over the city. I'm one of them. After more than 20 years, I have seen it all, from bad drivers to hostile passengers. Just last week, one of my coworkers had a gun pulled on her. Enough is enough. We get Milwaukee to work. We get them home again. Our working conditions are your safety conditions, and we need help. to provide improved safety and security for drivers and passengers. Call Chris Aberly at 414-278-4338 and tell him to stand with ATU 998. Make safety and a fair contract a priority.
This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
Start shaking.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
Bullets start chasing.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you have something to say, now is your final opportunity at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we got this article. It was shared with us, or to us, by Mary. I'm trying to read it and speak at the same time. I can barely do one or the other. Certainly can't do both at once. So, Mary, appreciate you sharing the Political Environment blog spot with us. And I want to bring this issue to your attention, Dom. This was written, posted on Sunday, August 25th. Dogs, hunting dogs in the state of Wisconsin. Well, if you get them killed, Dom, they pay you a bounty. The state of Wisconsin will pay you for the death of your hunting dog. And it's a profitable scenario for the hunters. You get paid $2,500 per dog. Let me read. In Wisconsin, a hunting dog can be the owner's best friend or a free $2,500 state check if the dog is sent to a violent death while chasing bears through wolf territory. A state-issued license to run hounds against bears as training for a hunt is no longer required, so the hounders during a 2-month summer training period can release their dogs at will. So you can basically, to train for hunting, you can, have your dogs go out and chase bears.
Release the hounds.
The Wisconsin DNR has reported the 13th and 14th hound deaths by wolves during the legal July-August bear hunt training session. So you let your dogs out and the wolves tend to eat the hounds. This is the period during which owners release hounds off-leash and may apply to the state for a $2,500 reimbursement per dog killed by wolves, which den and rendezvous where some hounders insist upon running their dogs. The actual bear hunting season takes place from September 4th to October 8th. Something above 3,500 bears will be killed by around 13,000 licensed hunters out of a roughly 125,000 licensed applicants. It's worth noting that what the DNR's bear plan is regulating, here its recently updated plan, is wildlife, which belongs to all the people of the state, not to any group or portion of the population. Yet hounders are legally permitted to release their packs of dogs to harass and tree bears, along with wolves, which are biologically equipped to fight back. One of the hounds in the latest DNR report on the dog-wolf encounters Friday was a red tick similar to this one, Pretty Dog. I track this Only in Wisconsin payment program and wrote a few days ago, as I often have over the last few years, that the number of dogs lost in the state-sanctioned animal cruelty in total exceeds 350 dogs at a cost in public funds sure to pass the $800,000 mark this year.
What?
We're paying for dead hunting dogs so people can go tree bears and chase wolves down. And that's a lot of money that could be spent on public purposes. Could these northern counties, towns, and villages use these thousands of dollars instead for their local parks, fisheries, roads, schools, law enforcement, home care workers, and so on? Payments to the hounders may be obtained by scofflaws, repeated claimants, and careless handlers who release their dogs in or near known wolf pack territory.
Right.
Or bear baiting deposits, which can also attract wolves. And they actually, the DNR, they post maps, Don, but, you know, when there is a profit to be made, I mean, literally, if you can, even if it's a good hound dog and you've paid $500, but you can kill it and get paid $2,500, well, hell, let's take the whole group of them down there bear hunting.
I'm going to go to the pound and get like 18 Yorkshire Terriers, and I'm going to go up to the Northwoods and get like $2,500 a pop. I mean, so no, I have all sorts of questions. So the hunters are licensed. Are the dogs licensed? Do they have to be hounds? Could they be Yorkies?
Well, once upon a time, if I understand the writing here at the political what's it called? The political blog spot, the political environment blog spot, Dom, is it's not even required that you license for this pre-hunt training period. So let's understand. It's not even like bear hunting is on. This is a training period when you can take your hound dogs and go harass these animals, but you cannot legally tag and bag
I
this
get it.
animal.
Do they have to be hound dogs?
Traditionally, but I'm not clear.
I got a plan. I'm thinking
Could
maybe
you see Berkeley out there chasing the big bear?
Oh, and but here's a serious question: is there an issue with bears and wolves in the northern woods? Is there a problem? Now, I know some folks up north, and they've given me the nod, wink, wink, and you know, if they see a wolf, they'll shoot it and bury it where it's at. I've heard that story before, more than once, from people that live up north, because of course you're not supposed to do those kinds of things. But the question is, are these nuisance animals? If we don't cull the herd, are they going to starve to death? What is the reason?
We allow these hunters to bait these bears. We allow them to basically bring the bear in to be shot. So you bait the bear, you bait the bear, you bait the bear. Boom, it's hunting season, you kill the bear. No more picnic baskets for you, boo-boo.
Okay, I get that. And you can talk about stunt hunting and sport hunting, all those things. I think it's a kind of a separate conversation. Because what this is about is the taxpayer reimbursement for somebody up north who happens to lose a dog in this effort. I mean, if you go deer hunting and you accidentally shoot your dog while you're deer hunting, you're not getting paid, right?
Nope.
If you go fishing and your dog falls out of the boat and drowns, you're not getting paid, right?
Presumably,
if you go duck hunting and you shoot your dog, you're not getting paid. But in this particular situation, they get paid. And I'm just wondering, what makes this any different than any of the other hunting for sport scenarios?
I'm not clear, Dom. It seems somewhat antiquated and cruel, and a counterintuitive sort of incentive to put one's dogs in harm's way.
I'm going to go to the pound. I'm going to pick up a bunch of dogs in the van. I'm going to drive them out to where I've been baiting the wolves, and they're all going to get eaten, and I'm going to get $2,500 a pop. Right?
I'm not clear if that's permissible, Dom, but there are scofflaw multiple claimants who make some sort of industry out of killing dogs and getting reimbursement, therefore.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to get like 20 Yorkies, and we're going to go hunting. In fact, I'm going to bait the bears with the Yorkies, so when I hunt with the Yorkies, they won't know.
At least you'll have dogs that you can control, Dom.
Oh, I did have one. She was so bad. Mia.
What, a Yorkie?
No, the Basenji I had.
Oh, God, I hated that dog. I would have taken Mia wolf or bear hunting or baiting. I'd have tied her down on the railroad tracks and let the train come through, Dom. I didn't like
She would have
dog.
escaped, and she would have ruled the Northwoods like an evil priestess. I mean, that dog was Satan's dog. I'm just saying.
What was the other big dog? Marley dog.
Marley, my Akita. He was a good boy.
Yeah, but the Basenji used to sort of backtrack Marley, didn't she?
Backtrack?
Yeah, like go after.
Oh, yeah, they'd wrestle. Yeah, she'd be on top of them. They'd chew on each other. It was playful. They're dogs. I mean, they grew up together. They're brother and sisters. But, oh, yeah, she did not back down to anything.
Thank you to all our fine guests today. And we did have guests. I would like you all to please take note. I'm back to booking Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire, State Senator Jeff Smith, State Rep Chris Taylor, and don't forget Mark Pocan in studio with me tomorrow. Stick around. Busted Pencils, Dr. Tim Slecker, educated educators talking about education. It's a must hear. Thank you. We'll do it again tomorrow on the radio airwaves. Devil's Advocate, same bad time, same back stations.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
Tune in for special Labor Fest coverage on WRRD and Talk 92.7 FM Labor Day, Monday, September 2nd, live from the Summerfest grounds. Earl Ingram Jr. will be broadcasting noon to 3 p.m., bringing exclusive interviews with brothers and sisters in labor, local union leadership,